start digging deep.
Hey, Bryan Callen.
Hey!
What's up, buddy?
Not much. It's a rainy, cozy Thursday.
It's adorable.
They say on rainy days that people are a little bit more devious. So if you have an honor jar where you got to put like tips, if you take a bagel at the office and you're supposed to put like $1 in there, on rainy days, some people tend to not do it. They're like, I'm not going to give it. It's raining. I'm taking a break from being honest.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder why rain does that.
I don't know. Huh. Why do girls are always like, it's funny. Rain always reminds me of like past girlfriends who would call up and be like, let's go fuck on a roof.
Whoa.
And I'm always like, nah.
What kind of girls are you dating, bro?
Too wet. Well,
The good kind.
the good kind, the kind that aren't that stable, the kind with low self-esteem and daddy issues.
The kind that want to fuck on a roof.
Yeah. I ever tell you that when I would take women shopping back in the day, it even happens with my wife now, I get a little horny because like I'm the man.
Oh, you're buying them things.
I love that shit.
You're providing.
With my wife, before we got married, she wanted these shoes and they were fucking high-heeled sneakers, right? I'm like, some asshole named Ted calls himself Christian Louboutin, and now I got to pay $800 for a high-heeled sandal. I mean, the amount of leather that goes into a sandal. But the two women are saleswomen, and I'm the man. And I'm I think I was in a linen shirt, and I had a blazer on, a linen blazer I spent too much money on, and I'm taking my girl on a little weekend in Santa Barbara. I'm the man. Probably not even working at the time, but whatever. And she tries on these Louboutin or whatever the fuck, Jimmy Choos, and she goes, God, they're so amazing. And the woman brings out another pair, and
That bitch.
Yep, that bitch is right. And she goes, I can't decide. And the saleswoman goes, get them both. And she goes, oh my God, I'd never do that. And I go, if you want them both. And she goes, this bitch, God bless her, my wife, she hides behind her own hand and she goes, you're going to ruin me for other men. And I was like, get both fucking shoes.
Oh.
I won't eat meat for the month, but get the fucking shoes. Because you can I'll buy you that dress too. I'm going to help you try it out in the changing room.
Well, basically what you're doing, Bryan, is just perpetuating these gender stereotypes that have been essentially boxing people into these behavior patterns for years. It's not that they're natural. It's totally cultural. It's totally something that our society has constructed. It's a cultural context.
Sorry.
A construct, rather.
Sorry for being a provider.
No. You're not.
Provider.
What you are is the patriarchy. You are the patriarchy.
Do you want to shatter the patriarchy?
I want to just break all the glass ceilings, Bryan.
Rose McGowan, who I think is sexy as all get out, was on the cover of some terrible magazine, and she's in a leather jacket, dressed like a man, of course. It's interesting how when you want to shatter the patriarchy, you're dressed, she's in pants, and I think she had gloves with the fingers cut out. Maybe she didn't, but in my mind she did. And she's hanging on to she's looking like that, maybe a cigarette out of her mouth. She's a bad bitch. And by the way, head is shaved. She's not fucking around. Her head is shaved. Fuck yes. Wow. And the caption is, she wants to shatter the patriarchy. Yeah! Yes, I would. I'm so. If I had a crack at that, I'd turn into the biggest fucking liberal in the world. I'd be like, you are 100% right, and I'll do whatever I have to. And if I could cook you some food right now, just lose your shirt and arch your back and lick your lips after we're done. Isn't it funny how a really hot girl back in the day could get you to do anything? Literally be like, my joke is always like, if I don't care if it's a black guy, there she is.
She's hot as fuck with shaved head.
She's so hot. She's amazing.
Is she too crazy? Is that why she stopped working?
Jamie's
over there nodding and going,
I would imagine that she's probably.
I mean, has she stopped working? Or am I ignorant?
Her dad was a cult leader.
Oh well, she's fucked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but I think she's impossibly hot.
She quit acting. Hint: Hollywood sexism. Okay, I'm running away now.
Yeah.
This is right about the time where I run away.
What am I supposed to do with that information? When you say Hollywood sexism, you're so hot. I remember meeting her after she'd done Doom Generation at Erewhon my first year in Los Angeles. I was so into I was like, hi, I'm on Matt TV. I think that was the next thing I said, anything to try to get her attention. She had no time for me at all. But, she was so, you enjoy privilege. You have your house and all that stuff because you have a bone structure that and a body that makes men sweat. It's just my genetics.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be I'm not
Right. She's profiting off of a fortunate roll of the dice plus her acting talent.
And also she says, I can't stand when men say, smile to me and all that.
That is gross.
It is gross, but how about this? How about looking at it this way? Hey, sometimes we're so flummoxed by your beauty and power that we'll just say anything. Most of the time, you can't even look at her. And when you want to get to her, you just want to say anything just so she looks at you, and it's clumsy.
Yeah, but maybe that's you. But there's a lot of dickwads out there that go up to women and they go, hey, why don't you smile? You look better if you smile.
Yeah, but
come on, man. That's super common.
I consider it the same thing as a guy who has a bad sense of humor. Right? Yeah, I have a friend. You have friends? You know that guy?
Right, but when you're a woman and a guy's doing it to you, it has that feeling of danger attached to it.
I know. I understand.
When a guy's pursuing a woman and he's saying things like that and he's kind of gross and clumsy, we think of it as like a dude being gross and clumsy to us.
Right.
But a guy being gross and clumsy to you you don't feel like you might get raped.
Yeah,
you just feel like you feel a little weird.
I know.
But girls, like they're constantly being pursued.
All the time.
It's a different world. Yeah. They're physically vulnerable.
Yeah, but that's never been any different, right?
Yeah, well, it's never been any different. But they never had the ability to express themselves. Like there's never been the opportunity to do, put up a post on Facebook about the way you feel about something, and have people react to it.
Yeah, I guess. I also think that there are some women that embrace it and turn it into an advantage.
I think people get into anything, man. They get into anything and everything. They get into it.
Yeah.
I'm into being a feminist.
It defines them.
I'm into playing water hockey. Is water hockey a thing?
fight. I'm a fighter. I train.
Hockey. No, I was going to say water polo, but I'm like, that's just too ridiculous.
Water hockey.
Water hockey. Like water hockey.
It's hockey underwater.
I blame the weed.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. People get into things, and they might get into activism, and they might get into the response they get from other people because they embrace activism. That's as much of an addiction as anything else. And sometimes those addictions lead to really great work because people do get addicted to the adulation that they get from doing good things, so they continue to do good things, and it becomes their thing, and letting everyone know about how much good things they're doing. That's why it's so amazing when you find out about someone who does things quietly. Like someone who donates money quietly or helps people quietly and is not trying to get any attention whatsoever for it. You go, oh, well, that's real. Yeah. This is real altruism. It's so
I think
uncommon.
Truman said that. Truman said something like, I read a quote, he said, you'd be amazed at how much you can get accomplished if you're not worried about who gets the credit for it.
Yeah.
Like that's an important thing. I think that's how charity should be given. I mean, if you put your name on the charity or on the building,
yeah, I guess it's as long as good charity gets done. Charity to me has always been a very strange thing because it is super important, that people help people out. But when you find out how much of these organizations actually spend the money on the charity itself and how much of it goes to the structure of the organization.
Oh, fuck, it's crazy.
You're like, what?
Yeah. It's nuts.
And they all lie about it. They all lie about how much money it actually, because they do fancy accounting.
Right. The Clinton Foundation is a good example. They had something, they don't know yet, but it was pretty astonishing at how much went to running the corporation and how much it's going to be really interesting to see how much the Clinton Foundation can raise now that both of them have no political influence anymore.
Well, they still have influence, right? But they just don't have a position.
Not anymore, they don't. They have no influence in how to move American policy. When she was Secretary of State and her husband was
Do you think she'll do something? Like run for senator again?
No, I don't think she'll ever run for office again. That's what her closest advisors say.
Like it just wore her out?
I think so.
Fuck yeah, it had to have. I mean, she didn't even want to go to these places.
She'll be 70, right?
Yeah. And she's not a healthy 70 either. That was one of the other super annoying things about this election, is that if you brought up her health, you were sexist. I experienced that a couple times. People reacting like, would you have brought up the fact that she was fainting if she was a man? Like, fucking of course. Whenever a 70-year-old person is just fainting, fainting is really fucking bad. People die from fainting. Yeah. She almost died from fainting. She banged her fucking head off the ground in 2012, and Bill Clinton did an interview, said she was fucked up for 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I paraphrase. He didn't say it. Imagine if he said it that way, though. She was fucked up for 6 months. I'm telling you, that bitch fell back, out cold, cracks her head off the corner of the... Out cold. I'm telling you, out cold. I took pictures with my dick on her mouth.
I cried on Monica's tits for a while.
Poor Monica.
What's she doing now?
Scraping shame off of her forever.
She did a
wrong.
round table or a discussion, and it was all these supportive college students. It's really funny. She's talking, and she's kind of talking about her experience, and some dude gets up and goes, well, what's it like to be an attention whore and have sex, for money? And something like that, like really hard. And it was just this, Paul. And she was like, wow, I guess I opened myself up for this kind of thing. And she handled it well.
Wasn't that the HBO one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I remember that. I was like, why is this on HBO? Like, what are they doing? Like, what is this?
She strikes me as a pretty, like a cool person. I don't know.
She's a nice person, I'm sure.
And I think she's attractive. People I think it was a bummer that people made so much fun of her.
How dare both of you?
I don't mind a little.
I don't know, man. It's just wow. Anti-bullying is her first thing on her Twitter profile.
Wow.
I
Apparently,
would
bullies in school bully across the social scale, right? So they don't bully the nerds; they bully each other. Mm-hmm. So if you're in there, if you're in a cool kid circle, apparently the bullies only bully. That's what I read. They bully each other because they know each other.
Not true. They definitely bully people in other social circles too. Although, what are nerds bullying each other?
Yeah,
come on. That's
apparently
ridiculous.
there's bullying among groups, but they don't really. There's not a whole lot of cross pollination.
Really?
But then again, that's a dumb thing to say because I don't fucking know. I read an article. I don't go to schools and draw lines on that. There are a lot of things that are hard to figure out, right? There are a lot of things where you're like. You can draw these broad-based conclusions. Like I read one article in the New York Times about how doctors are in the pockets of pharmaceutical companies and the reps are cheerleaders. And I got a fucking email from this guy who was a former Green Beret, friend of Tim Kennedy's, and he goes, hey, dude, just so you know, I sell drugs to doctors. Nothing, that's just not fucking true. Like, I'm just telling you, like, the reality on the ground versus what you're reading from the New York Times is so diametrically opposed, it's ridiculous.
Well, in his circumstance, but he's one guy working for one pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
The industry is gigantic. It's huge,
gigantic.
and its practices vary widely, especially depending upon what drugs you're selling.
Yeah.
My wife's mom is a nurse, and she used to work with pharmaceutical companies. They would take them out to steak dinner, and they would woo them, and they would literally do everything they could to get you to be like super high on that company. Mm-hmm. And it's what they do to gain influence without actually paying you to say shit to the patients. Like say if there's a company that you like this hat I'm wearing, Vortex Optics, nice people. They make good binoculars, right? Yep. So if I meet them and I know them and I talk about them and I talk about them to other people, people perhaps will buy their stuff. Well, the same kind of shit happens in the pharmaceutical world. They use influence. They become friends with these nurses. They buy them nice dinners. They take them out for drinks. They pick up the tab. Yeah. Wow, we had a nice dinner. I didn't have to pay anything.
That's all against the law now, I believe.
Is it?
Yes. And now I think that there are a lot of strident laws or stringent laws, whatever, against sort of influence peddling and giving gifts, even in the form of any kind of a trip, any kind of a dinner. A lot of that stuff there's a wall now being sort of
it's a super good idea, but people are so open to suggestion that it should be absolutely illegal to advertise drugs.
Well, how about the fact that pharmaceutical companies are bankrolling, scientists, food companies bankroll scientists to do research on, on simple sugars and how your diet can be made of 25% simple sugars, according to our scientists that happen to also be on the Coca-Cola, Nestle, Kraft payroll.
Were you talking about the 1950 studies
I'm talking about now. I'm talking about recently. I'm talking about the fact that the Food and Board Nutrition, the Food and Nutrition Board or whatever, the bodies of government that set the nutritional standards for what mothers with dependent children eat, what the military eats, what our school programs are. Take a look at what their nutritional guidelines are and take a look at the corporations, the people that are actually providing the food. Who has a huge interest in that? Nestle, Kraft, these companies that make billions of dollars on feeding our school children in public schools, right?
Is there really a statement that says 25% simple sugars?
If you read Forks Over Knives by T. Colin Campbell, he talks about the Food and Board Nutrition. And he's a scientist. I mean, he's a vegan.
Food and Board Nutrition?
I think it's the Food and
Nutrition Board?
I think that's what it's called, Food and Nutrition Board. But I can't remember, don't quote me exactly, but he does a very good job of tracing the genealogy here. He's a vegan, so I don't really agree with him, but he does an amazing job of kind of showing you just exactly how the big food companies are very influential in getting their products into the mouths and bellies of people who are relying on the government to feed them.
Do you know how much that infuriates vegans? You say, well, he's a vegan, so I don't really agree with him.
Well,
It's like, well,
I
he's
don't agree
a
with
fucking
the way
Mooney.
he eats. Yeah, I mean, he's
a Scientologist
he does an
for
amazing
food.
job though in that book of making the argument for being healthier as a vegan. He talks about the China study, where the
China study's been widely debunked.
right.
Yeah, the China study, apparently they didn't do a good job of pull up China study debunked so we can get this totally accurate. But I think
Because
essentially,
it's a big part of his book.
yeah. Well, so it was a lot of parts of a lot of the ways people were managing their nutrition.
Well, he
based
doesn't
on
know.
that
He didn't.
book.
He never talked about things like insulin, and he doesn't come from. It's not that scientific because, insulin's a big thing to talk about, like how food reacts, the kind of hormonal response food has in your body, what dietary cholesterol really does. All
The
those
real
things.
combination, the real correct combination should be all healthy things. Rest
Mm-hmm.
in peace, China study. Okay, this is Chris Kresser, who's actually been on the podcast.
Huh.
The China study should be put the issue to rest. Please consider the information presented here. The methodology is impressive. Okay, scroll down. Campbell recommends a vegan diet, no animal-based food at all. He claims that population studies demonstrate that vegan populations do not suffer from the high incidence of cardiovascular disease and cancer that we in the West do with our diets heavy on animal protein. Okay.
He also draws a correlation between, if I remember correctly, milk and juvenile diabetes. I mean, he draws all these correlations to even chronic illnesses that manifest themselves in children with, meat and dairy.
This is Chris Masterjohn's take on it. He says, when I first started analyzing the original China study data, I had no intention of writing up an actual critique of Campbell's much-lauded book. I am a data junkie. Numbers, along with strawberries and Audrey Hepburn films, gay, make me a very happy girl. Oh, it's girl.
Oh, okay.
I mainly wanted to see for myself how closely Campbell's claims aligned with the datas he drew from, if only to satisfy my own curiosity. But after spending a solid month and a half of reading, graphing, sticky noting, and passing out at 3 a.m. from studious exhaustion upon my copy of the raw China study data, I've decided that it's time to voice all my criticisms, and there are many. Okay.
Campbell conveniently fails to mention the county of Tuo in China. The folks in Tuoli
Tuoli.
45% of their diet is fat, 134 grams of animal protein each day, twice as much as the average American, and rarely ate vegetables or other plant foods. Yet, according to the China study data, they were extremely healthy with low rates of cancer and heart disease. All right, there you go.
Yeah, this is the problem with the China study, is that they only put in stuff that backs up what they're saying.
Yeah.
And they
Confirmation
didn't put in,
bias.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they didn't put in anything that is contrary to that data. And there's plenty of that. There's plenty of that out there. I really honestly believe that the real problem is the ideology, because the vegans are absolutely not able to get over the idea that you should ever eat or kill an animal. It should do no harm. Right. Well, one day we're going to have this factory-made meat. It's on the way. I mean, they're really close to being able to do that in mass. And when they do that, if they can get factory-made meat and factory-made fat, and if it turns out in any way to actually be like the same thing, like you can eat it and it's healthy, vegans should eat it because it's better for you.
Yes.
It's more nutrition. I understand if you think that you can get all of your food from plants, and you kind of can. But there's been some real good scientific critiques of the problem with vegan diets.
Yes. Yes, there have. And like Charles Poliquin said, he's been a strength coach forever, and he was on Tim Ferriss's podcast, and he said, they said, have you ever, look, what about vegan diets? You've been strength training for 37 years, and, high level, he's got more gold medalists under his, tutelage or whatever. He's a results-driven guy, right?
Right.
And it's just so funny. He said, what do you think of vegan? Because he eats game meat. He basically eats game meat, nuts, berries, and some vegetables. And he said, after 37 years, he goes, I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody on a vegetable-based diet actually be able to compete in strength, explosion, those kinds of things to the
But
level that other people do.
There's a vegan power lifter in the Olympics, so that doesn't make any sense. And then there's other vegan strongmen. I know there's some guy who's.
I'm sure there are. I'm just saying that, according to Poliquin, for the most part, his athletes he thinks have to eat meat because it creates a more, better for recovery, better for strength, better for all that stuff.
I'm sure that that is dependent entirely on the athlete, because I think there's some vegans that will tell you that they do a vegan diet and they feel better. I know John Fitch did a vegan diet for a while, but then he felt weak. Right. He just got to a point where, you see, this is one of the things that Chris Kresser talked about on the podcast as well, that there's some initial positive benefits from changing your diet to a nutrient-rich, nutrient-dense diet, like a vegan diet, as opposed to the standard American diet.
Sure.
The problem arises after years of living like this, where your body has just depleted itself of the things that are lacking in the diet.
Right.
Now, a smart vegan would tell you, well, that could be mitigated by better planning of your meals and making sure that you get all these healthy things. That's true. That is absolutely true. And adding things like what's that stuff from the green stuff from the ocean?
Algae.
Algae, which you can get B12 from algae, which is essentially look, it's all life. It's just we're deciding what's stupid. If you really want to eat, you should eat clams. Clams are dumb as fuck. Eat those stupid things.
I don't think they have a central nervous system,
No, they have
right?
nothing. I mean, you might as well be eating a carrot.
Yeah.
It's like you could eat we have this weird thing about stuff that moves. Will you eat a Venus flytrap, or do you draw the line?
Also, don't animals talk to? I mean, plants talk to each other. Don't trees have conversations or something?
Yes, they do. I would love to have a Venus flytrap salad. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I wonder how, dude. I'll tell you what, man. I went to It's funny how some plants. You know where there's shit in, like they say you can almost eat anything in the ocean with scales and fins, like whatever it is. You can eat shrimp. You can eat almost anything with their certain, but when you go down, I was in Tahiti, which is considered the safest ocean to swim in.
Really?
Right? There's nothing really poisonous except for rockfish. And there aren't even any sea snakes, I don't believe. There aren't big sharks. I mean, it's like really, really safe. But there are always these poisonous corals, these little things. I went scuba diving, and the woman with me just nicked her arm, like the back of her arm, on a piece of coral. And man, did that thing! It didn't swell up like big, but she was just like, "This really hurts." And all she did was just kind of brush by. And the first thing the guy told me is from Tahiti. He goes, "Number one rule," he said, "you look with your, you touch with your eyes, and you look with your fingers." How's that sound? I was like, all right,
whoa.
Don't touch anything. If I let you touch it, that's fine. But otherwise, please stay away from it. And at one point, we're down there, and he starts clicking his fingers underwater. This is like 80 feet under. He's going like this. And I'm like, what is he doing? And then nothing happens. And he's like doing it toward this coral thing, so I think somebody's going to jump out. And then he takes a piece of coral, picks it up, and he digs into the ground, and out comes what I thought was a piece of rock. It was a rockfish.
Whoa.
Which... Good luck. Step on that. See what happens. Tell me how things work out for you. Go ahead, step on a rockfish.
Is it covered with quills and shit?
Yeah. Try not to go into shock, by the way.
Oh, I don't want to go into shock.
No, you don't want to go, especially 80 feet under. That's not a good time. Yeah.
Boy.
But the problem is that you walk, and it looks exactly like a rock. And if you're walking around in like a, kind of you down there in the ocean, or you walk on that, you can get one of those in your foot. And,
fuck all that, dude.
Yeah. And they don't really have an anti-venom for you. You gotta let it work through your body.
That apparently. Fucker?
They may, I don't know if that's a rockfish, but it was not.
Quillback rockfish.
Show them the other one. There's one that looks exactly like a stone. That was not the one. There's one that literally looks
Maybe
like
that right there? Look at that thing.
That bad boy. That's what I saw.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That does look like a rock.
When his eyes are closed.
Here's the weird thing, man. Like, what the fuck information is being passed from animal to animal and from nature to animal that allows these simple animals like a fish to just change its body shape over time?
It's evolution. It's exactly like, when you train a whale or you train a bear. So if you want a bear to get up on its hind legs, so what are they driven by? They're driven by food, right? So every time a bear sits up, you click a thing and you give him I'm not a bear trainer, but you.
Are you a bear trainer?
Yeah. I mean, honestly.
Are you secretly a bear trainer?
I got some hidden skills.
Right.
Okay. You go, and you give it to him. And then when he gets up on his hind legs, maybe you go, You click the thing and you give him a treat, and and you give him a signal for when you want that to happen. And pretty soon you allow him to kind of make the choice to go up, and he knows that when I go up in my hindquarters, good things happen. I get a little treat, right? Say you don't train a bear by going bad bear and hitting him on the nose. Good luck. See what happens to your fucking face, right?
Yeah.
You do it. You work with the animal's nature. And I think evolution probably was the same way. The fish that looked a little bit more like a rock, a couple of those survived, right?
Yeah.
Like when I was in Tahiti, I was on this, because survival's a motherfucker, right? I was in Tahiti and they had this incredible, it's where all the sea turtles would lay their eggs and we would watch them hatch and all these adorable little babies would run down to the ocean and everybody would be like, woo, and all of us would be sitting there going, yay, and the kids would be like, look at how cute they are and stuff like that. And as I'm watching them, and there's so many of them, I go, there's so many. And he goes, there are. And my daughter's like, he's so cute, he's so cute. She got to hold one before it went down there. And he looks at me and he goes, 1 in 1,000 survive. 1 in 1,000. That's just
Jesus.
That's just food for the bay right now. And he said, and I said, what do you mean? He goes, they're just nothing but baby sharks and groupers and even big crabs waiting for every single one of them. And 1 in 1,000 turtles are gonna live. And then I whispered that to my daughter, so she understands what fucking life is really about.
Wow, you whispered it in a creepy way, or?
Yeah, real creepy. Just remember, you think they're cute. It's got about 10 minutes to live till it hits that water.
That is kind of fucked. It's like they make food.
Hey,
it's
man,
like they're like little food factories. If
Yeah.
they make 1,000 of them, I mean, how many do they make? How many does
they
each
make
one make?
probably 100 eggs. So
and then there's like 100 of them.
They
Each
all
would make
die.
100. And,
you
wow.
need 10 nests, and
That's
then one
crazy.
survives. So when you see a big turtle, and they're when you eat turtle soup, remember that.
I don't eat turtle soup, bro.
Well, they do in Japan.
I was in Hawaii, and at the Big Island, the turtles just chill on the shore. They just hang out there, and
Really?
there's signs saying don't disturb them.
So cool.
Yeah, and it was at a resort, and people just walked by them. Everybody
love
was
it.
being cool to the turtles, but it's just you're looking at this crazy life form.
Yeah.
And you're so used to it that it just seems normal. Oh, there's a turtle. Oh, look,
Yeah.
it's a turtle.
Yeah.
But then if you take yourself out of that context of familiarity and you just get a look at what that life form is, like that thing is a shield on its back.
Oh yeah.
And it sucks its body into this hard case.
Yeah.
And it's swimming around in the ocean.
Yep.
It's living out there.
Yeah.
Going under, and then it comes up on the beach too. It does whatever the fuck it wants.
When we were done scuba diving, we saw this pod of beautiful little dolphins, not bottlenose porpoises, but the kind of dolphins, the little gray ones you see that jump out of that you swim with. Mm-hmm. And it was a group of them, and they swim with the boat. They know you're there, and they'll swim with you, and they swim with the boat, and they jump out of the air, and they flip, and they're literally showing off for you. There's no question about it, right? And I said to the guy, I wish we'd seen them when we were scuba diving. I could have played with one. And he said, you would never see them when you're scuba diving. I said, what do you mean? They're right there. And he said, they don't like the bubbles. They wouldn't come near you.
Why do you have to talk like that? You're freaking me out.
I don't know. And by the way, he was French, and he said it in French, but I like being theatrical because he was really creepy, and he was breathing on the back of my neck.
Oh, he's breathing.
And he was wearing
What the fuck was he doing behind you?
I don't know, dude. He was wearing a
take your
Speedo.
back.
I was drunk. I drank too
What?
much. I know.
Oh, no.
It was Tahiti, man. I just wanted to come clean
That's
for a
funny.
second.
It's Tahiti, dude. We were in Tahiti.
It's not gay if it's Tahiti, and it's not
it's
gay
just-
if I'm not looking him in the face.
In Tahiti, we just get crazy.
That's it. And he was like, doucement, doucement. Fais attention. Regardez mon bite.
Have you ever seen a crocodile eat a turtle?
No, but I'd like to, and I'd like you
Yeah.
to bring that up, Jamie.
They just chew them up
Really?
like nothing.
They just chew right through the...
They're
this-
horrific.
Oh.
Crocodiles are fucking horrific.
They have acid in their stomach that can break down fucking anything.
Anything. License plates.
Horns. I'm going to
Yeah,
eat
look at this.
a gazelle. It's horns.
Look at this. This is an alligator. This isn't even a big one, but this is good enough. See, you didn't find one? There's a good
Alligator
video
eats-
of a crocodile. Look at that right there, right there, right there, right there. Third down.
No, the top one.
Right there,
The
bam.
top one. Oh, no, it's hippo. They're incredible. Well, guess what,
This
dude?
turtles fucksville.
Well, now, hold on. It doesn't seem like it's going to break through that shell, though.
No, this one, it seems like it's a little too small. The one that I saw was a crocodile, and so it was a really big animal.
That's a
and it
waiting
was
game right there.
smashing this turtle.
That's a waiting game.
Yeah, he's not strong enough to do it. He's too stupid, too. He's too stupid
Run,
to let
run,
it go.
run. Run, turtle, run.
It
What a-
barely slothers away. Look at it.
Oh, my God.
What a creepy animal.
They just live.
Big ass reptile. Fuck him.
Oh no, he's gonna swallow him whole.
Nah.
No.
Nah. This is a wash. He's not getting this
He'd
one.
definitely choke on that thing.
Yeah, he's not getting this one.
Look
He's
at
gonna
that. It's so
keep
weird
trying.
looking.
Yeah, look at it. It's got no brain. Look at the brain of the alligator. You know when you hunt for alligators, you know what you have to do? See that thing right behind their head?
You dress up like a turtle.
That's where you shoot it.
Where?
Like you see his eyeballs.
Yeah.
Back up a little bit,
It's
Jamie.
a plate. The plate behind his head.
It's like right behind his eyeballs.
Yeah, I would go for
Blam, right there. Right that spot right there, that's where you want to shoot.
That's where Crocodile Dundee stabbed the fucker when it grabbed his girl.
Oh, that fucking happened.
Yep.
They're so creepy.
I
It's
read
just-
that a guy got bit by a crocodile, not a big one, and he reached behind the crocodile, stuck his hand up the thing's ass, and pulled whatever he could out, and the crocodile let go of him. Yeah.
What?
I'll say it again.
He reached into its ass?
Yep, he reached into its ass. Now I don't know if that's possible. Let's do
This
the
is
math
the
on
one.
that.
This is the one where it crushes the shells.
Oh my!
Is that an alligator?
That looks like a
Looks
croc,
like an
dude.
alligator.
That looks like a croc. Oh,
Yeah, this one.
Alligator, but
It's an
I
alligator.
believe they have the strongest bite. The American alligator.
Look at
Oh,
it. It's
dude.
just smashing right through it.
I hope that's not the turtle.
yeah, it is.
It is?
Have you ever heard him like make that noise before?
No, but look at the blood.
That's the noise the turtle's making that noise because it's killing it?
Yeah.
Holy shit. This is exactly the video I was talking about. Look
Dude,
at it. How it's
how are you not?
squirting.
How are you gonna eat the shell and everything? Fuck.
Look at it. Just keeps crushing. What a monster this thing is.
Jeez.
That's
That's a
definitely
bird.
not
That's
that
a bird.
turtle.
That's a bird, yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Jamie.
No,
Jamie, you
the-
fucked
I'll
up.
show you. I'll show you.
I don't want to hear sounds of turtles being tortured, but look at
I
this
don't,
thing.
but I do.
Look at how it's just crushing its body.
Look at that
it's
blood.
insane.
That's
And look at his
amazing.
eyes. Just stupid fucking eating machine.
Yep, a dinosaur. That's a straight up dinosaur, huh?
I mean, we'd say stupid, but you know, there's obviously their capacity for being even interested in anything.
The giant crocs, I guess, lose their teeth by the time they're like 40.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that thing's gonna lose its teeth too. It's
Yeah,
eating
no, just from
fucking
fighting
turtles.
they fight other crocs. They get in giant mouth fights.
It's interesting. I mean, that thing serves its purpose. I mean, it really has no need for books. Really, is. It's not excited
No.
by intellectual discourse.
No.
It's not here to
The
watch
diffusion
good
of innovation,
films.
as Hunter would say.
Yeah, it's not. It's
The
not here
movement of
for-
ideas.
It's not here for any of that. It's here for fucking up everything that it can eat.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for.
That's
and
right.
it's because people and things and turtles like to fuck. And if
Yeah.
they like to fuck, they make too many of them, so we have to have around crocodiles
Yeah.
and alligators
Yeah.
and lions and everything else that eats shit.
Driven by driven by certain things.
We're so detached from that world.
I think that's the function and the sort of the biggest difference between what it is to be human. There's a fundamental difference, the human beings who I was thinking about how we create beauty for its own sake. Well, why? A lot of times, even at our own expense, that famous, whether it's true or not, the legend of Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel and going blind because the paint was in his eyes,
Yeah, well, he had
inspired
a
by something bigger than himself.
Paint above him. He definitely. I mean, that's like the historical record,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Now, part of that's this, people say,
Could
well,
just went blind and blamed it on the paint.
Well, he was on his back for a long time, but they said, sometimes, human beings have this need to be immortal, right? We want to leave a mark, whether it's through our children or through our work. That's a very deep, deep drive. But I don't like, as I get older, I don't like just, breaking it down to simple constructs like that. Maybe because I'm a romantic. I'd rather believe that we have something inherent in us that is, I don't know what it is, maybe an inherent inspiration, a nostalgia to create something that's much bigger than ourselves, that moves people to tears, brings them to their knees, drops their jaw in awe. That stuff that's what I think is fascinating. Like I'm writing
Well, it
this
was
thing about
back then it was the only way to leave that mark too. You have to understand the context of the time.
Yes.
If you think about today, you could write a book, you could make a movie, you could fucking do a comedy show, you could do this, you could do that. There's so many different avenues. But
No,
back
but I'm talking
then-
also about, I wonder if animals feel like, for example, when you listen to a beautiful piece of music, right? And you're driving down the road and you have do you ever have that feeling where you go, it's a feeling of like inspiration, right? So you kind of feel really sad, really happy. You want to love everybody.
Right.
You know that feeling of wonder? I wonder if animals have anything like that.
There's no need for it. They don't have communication. So if you don't have communication, they probably don't have these crazy, weird fluctuations of their intent and their lusts and desires, and their path is probably much straighter and truer.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I don't know, man. It's a lot of intellectual masturbation, I guess, at the end of the day. But it just seems like the only things that have that capacity are humans and maybe dolphins and orcas and whales.
Yeah.
We
Well,
don't know
dolphins,
that. We haven't
orcas,
figured that
and
out
whales,
yet.
yeah, they seem to have really strong bonds, right,
Huge
with
bonds.
their family, and they do communicate.
That Tillicum, is that how you say his name? The one that died in San Diego? Was it a guy or a girl? The girl.
Oh,
was it a
yeah,
girl?
there was a guy.
Was it a guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that whale from Blackfish is dead now. 35 years old. They live to be 80 plus in the wild, folks. You find that acceptable? That's a living thing that is probably as smart as your fucking neighbor. And it's locked in a swimming tank in San Diego, and it's fucked, and now it's dead. And that thing bred in the wild. It made, I don't remember how many slave babies, but that's essentially what it made, a bunch of slaves. It's fucked. It's fucked.
Isn't SeaWorld no longer doing that now?
They should be in jail. They should be arrested. You're enslaving intelligent beings.
Right.
They just can't talk to you in a way that you can understand.
Right.
So you're profiting off of enslaving intelligent beings and making them do flips. This isn't 1950. We know what the fuck a dolphin is. We know what an orca is. You know, if you are a person that is breeding those things in captivity, keeping them in swimming pools, it's crazy that it's legal.
What's
It's
funny is I didn't
crazy.
know anything. I never thought about that, didn't know that, didn't think that. Would have told you they were probably very happy until Blackfish came out, which I didn't even see because I didn't want to see it.
I've had this kid Phil Demers on my podcast a couple times now, and he's from Marineland. He got fired from Marineland, and he has gone like way out of his way to expose. It's in Canada to expose all of these violations of animal welfare and animal safety and all of the fucking horrible practices that this place, now they're being brought up on charges. They were just recently brought up on more charges. Like he tweeted something about it just a couple of days ago. Marineland's brought up on more charges. But he was a walrus trainer there. This walrus named Smooshy, and he developed this like really close bond with this walrus that he was training in. But he was like, this place is fucked. Like, they don't give a shit about these things. They don't give a shit about these animals. And he's like, and they were getting their dolphins and their orcas. They're getting them from these Russian ships that would get them from China. Yeah.
Wow.
Marineland faces 6 new animal cruelty charges.
Damn.
Yeah. Fuck that place.
Well, for me, seeing how small the tank was for a killer whale to swim in.
The
where it's
charges
light.
are related to the treatment of an elk, a red deer, and a fallow deer. What? They have deers roaming around there? Whatever.
Deer seem less sympathetic to me because they're not as smart.
Well, the whole thing is just, it's insane that it is legal to keep dolphins and orcas captive. It's insane. And whales too, but obviously whales are too big. It's insane. They're so fucking smart, man.
Yeah.
You've seen the image of a dolphin's brain right next to a human's brain. Their brains are bigger than ours.
Right.
Like, we don't know. Like, we have such a clearly defined standard for what we accept as intelligence. Send me an email. Where's your house? You know, how much do you make a year? What do you do for a living? If you don't have any of those things, you're a fucking barbarian.
Right.
You're not really a person. Like, look at that dolphin brain next to a human brain. That's crazy. Look at
Potential is different, right?
Yeah, but it's not. It's all within the confines of what we think of as civilization. Well, all those things are meaningless to a dolphin. They don't have fingers. They don't need them. They don't pick things up. They're moved through 3D space in this warm water.
Yeah.
They have free food everywhere. They don't have any need for money. There's no need for clothes. So where does the mind go then? Well, I guess the mind goes to camaraderie or culture or songs, those dolphin songs that we don't understand what the fuck they are. Who knows? I mean, maybe that's where their thought goes. But what we do know is there's a lot of thinking going on. This is not a piece of celery.
Yeah.
You know, this is not, you're not.
It's not an animal that should be kept in a pool.
Yeah. It's not even like animals that we really like.
Yeah.
like a dog. No,
Right.
this is way smarter than a
Well,
dog.
this is an animal that is used to jump through hoops, literally, and for fish, and to do twirls and stuff, and
Yeah.
to pull you along as you ride them, right, or water
Yeah.
ski on them. And if you take that out of the equation, that seems to me to be where SeaWorld makes a lot of their money. I've been to that show,
Yeah.
right? So. And when I was watching that show and my kids were all excited, I never thought in any way it was cruelty to the animal. I just didn't know.
Right.
I
Well,
didn't
it
know,
doesn't
right?
look like it, right?
Right. And so, but I think we could do without. We could probably do without though. They say it raises awareness and stuff like
Bullshit.
that. We could probably do without.
Bullshit. Documentaries raise awareness, and that's why their business is down by a massive, massive amount. That's why they're hurting.
Oh well,
They-
yeah.
they
Their
should-
stock didn't really suffer at first. Did you see that?
After Blackfish?
Yeah, their stock stayed pretty strong
For how long?
for about a year, maybe more. Their stock was not. It didn't take a hit, and then I guess as time went on.
Well, people hear about it on the internet. They start exchanging information, start reading about things that they're doing there, start reading about how long the animals live in the wild versus how long they live in captivity. And you see that the dorsal fin that flops over because they never have to deal with waves, so it atrophies.
Really?
Yeah,
Is that what
It's
happens?
ugly. Yeah, their dorsal fin becomes like a limp dick. Just
So
flopping
what is it
around.
for?
It's for steering through the water, for handling waves and correcting your path.
Wow.
So for them outside in the wild, it's rigid and powerful. But in this pool where there's no waves, it never gets used, so it flops over.
Damn.
Yeah, have you never seen that?
No.
Show an image of it. It's fucking gross.
I didn't see I couldn't watch the documentary. I was afraid it would make me.
It's like a guy
Feel
is
bad.
not allowed to use his arm, so he has one arm that just withers, and the other arm is big.
Yeah. I don't have that
want to
problem.
allow them. There
I
it
use
is.
both
See?
my arms. Oh fuck.
See how his dorsal fin just flops
Yeah.
over. See how one in the wild has like this big,
So wow. Look at the
thick.
size of that rudder.
Yeah. Well, they need it. I mean, they're dealing with waves.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? It's ugly, man. It's an ugly practice. And as much as those things do jump up on that platform and do get that fish and do the flips and make everybody happy, it's fucked up. And also, I feel like if they really wanted to have a relationship with these orcas, the correct way to do it would be to have some sort of a meeting ground where they meet these orcas and they get them to do things for fish. They get them to do tricks.
Oh, so like an open area of the
where
ocean.
they can go wherever the fuck
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want. But if they want to come back around and hang out,
That makes sense.
like maybe we'll get to do an orca show today, but maybe you won't. But
Yeah.
but having them in captivity and lifting up a cage and they swim through and all that horse shit,
Yeah.
that's where it's fucked.
Doesn't
Like, it's-
everything in the ocean fear the orca? I think pretty
yeah,
much
they have to.
everything. Even
Everybody
great
has to.
whites, right?
Yeah, they fuck great whites up. They
Yeah.
eat them.
Because they said that they played. I think Paul DeGelder, who lost his arm and his hand and his leg to a bull shark in Sydney Bay, doing routine stuff, and
Is he the guy that has the carbon fiber arm and leg now?
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
that guy.
yeah. And
Pretty
he's
dope.
it's pretty cool. Well, he squeezed my hand. It hurt. He can really squeeze. It's a $90,000 fake hand.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he squeezed it. He was an Australian Navy SEAL, and he was
Do you
doing
think it feels good to finger somebody?
I don't know.
Can't, right?
I don't know, but maybe that guy who was my scuba instructor would tell you.
I mean, it just seems like...
I guarantee he's tried it.
I think at one point... Yeah, for sure.
He's a good-looking guy, and there's obviously girls are like, well, all right, okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Of course. What are you not gonna? You're not gonna play with a mechanical hand?
How long do you think they have those Luke Skywalker arms? Remember when Luke Skywalker got that new arm and it was dope, like pretty immediately?
All I know is I've always been self-conscious of my left arm
Why?
because I feel it's a little skinny, especially in
Skinnier
this
than your
area.
right?
My right is fucking ridiculous. Look at that shit.
Why is it?
Baboosh,
Why is it
gadoosh.
different?
In my mind, it is. I have weird shit about my body. I have a weird thing about this side of my body, my left side, and a
Are you being
psychiatrist.
serious?
I swear to God.
Here it is, the Star Wars.
I remember
finger.
this so
Remember?
well. I remember this
Yeah.
so well.
He could feel the nerves,
Yeah,
and then he had to close it off.
that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
You know
It was
who's
a
a
weird
big
scene.
consultant on these movies?
Who?
Joseph Campbell.
Really?
He was
that
on
makes
set
sense.
too.
That makes sense
Yeah.
for all the hero's journey.
Look at that.
Yeah, well, that's common. Well, what you're seeing right there.
Hell yeah, it's coming.
If it's 50 years from now or 80 years from now, whatever it is, the real problem is going to be when are we just going to be like a spinal cord hooked up to all this stuff?
Yeah.
You're just going to keep replacing shit. Like
But-
I
but-
know
but-
a lot of people that have fake things, like fake knees and fake shoulders and fake hips.
But we like to come back in a lot of ways
Look at that guy. Whoa.
to the simplicity and the organic. Like look at how the food movement. We like to eat on wood, and nothing's really ever replaced the feel of wood or quartz or fur.
Yeah, that's true.
Synthetics have a limit. What was that thing about? They were talking about something fascinating about, like, there's a point where robots. Oh yeah, the guy who created. I scuba dive with a guy who is the owner of iRobot, right? So they make he builds robots. Went to MIT and stuff like that. Really smart guy. And I said, talk to me about sexual robots. And he said, well, of course I did, because I like to get deep, right? He's this really smart guy, and I'm like, what about things I could fuck? Hey, bro, I know you got something to vacuum my floor. You got something for my dick? You got something for my dick?
Yeah, these little tiny drones are cute.
Yeah, they're
it's
cute.
Nice.
But
4K,
at the end of the day,
it shoots 4K.
I gotta come. All right.
Yeah. I'm looking to come in a drone.
I want to come in a drone. And I said, what about, because that's coming. I said, what about fucking a robot? And he said, there's this weird situation where we call it I think it was the revulsion factor or the repulsive factor. So human beings, you can get something really close and people will fuck it. Like you can have like just a pocket pussy, right? A guy will carry around just like a fleshlight or a gel pussy and bang it in the bathroom in his office break, right? And while he watches porn on his phone, whatever it might be. But there's something about a robot when you try to get it really human. Apparently, from their research, and I'm not saying this guy he's working on sexual robots, but like he said that there's something about creating a robot that's so human-like, but there's just something missing, like the expression in the eyes or whatever. Ooh. And it gets to a point where when you get it as real as possible, like as real as possible, people will fuck, and then when it gets so real, they'll go, that's not, you're trying to be too human. Oh, hold on. You're trying to make eyes they're not, something's missing, something's weird here, and it apparently shuts people off right away.
It makes sense. It just would freak you out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a person, but it's so close.
It's so close.
Yeah, why would you get hard for that? That would be too weird.
Well,
you would feel so strange if you fucked a robot. You would feel at any moment that thing could kill you.
No, but do you ever exactly?
Grab
but
your
more
neck,
importantly,
just start choking you.
But wait, more importantly is that.
More importantly, we're talking about fucking robots.
You got real delay.
I'm thinking about fighting for my life against this robot I'm trying to fuck.
Why do we get low when we start talking about dirty shit?
I don't know. Why do girls talk like that when they want to be sexy?
Yeah.
There's like things that don't work, but people do. Like, when you talk like this, it's scary. No, it's not.
Because I'm Dracula.
That's not scary. But like we've got it in our head that that's scary. And hey, boys, looking for company? Call 1-800-HOT-SLUT.
I just like that you immediately, before we got back to was a girl when she liked strawberries, and what was the other thing?
Oh, something else.
Gay.
Gay.
First thing I did, I was immediately.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn
I was like,
movies.
hold on, bro.
Yeah, there's like certain signals that gay guys will just throw up. Well, like I'm a huge Cher fan. Gay.
Go to a Barbra Streisand concert.
Gays
Take a look at,
everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, they have, that's one of the fun things, I guess, about being gay is they have these female diva like idols that they worship. Like Cher's a giant one, right?
So in A Billion Wicked Thoughts, what is
that?
It's a really great book written by two neuroscientists.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, and the average gay penis is a half inch longer than the average straight penis, and also the gay brain apparently.
The gay brain?
Well,
How dare you, fake scientist?
I know. I'm first of all, I'm not a fake scientist. I'm a real scientist. I'm not a fake scientist. You can take scientist out of that phrase, but. But what they found is that why all these men who love Barbra Streisand, why are they mostly gay? Why? Right? And there are according to the research that I've done in my backyard and from this book, which is a great book, and I got it from, I think it was Gad Sad maybe who was recommending it or talking about it, but no, it was Jordan Peterson, so I read it. But there are fundamental differences with the way a man who's gay's brain reacts to certain things in relation to how the average straight brain works, reacts to certain things. This is
Right.
kind of dicey situation and territory because we don't know all the facts. But according to the other research, why is the gay penis a half-inch longer? Apparently, it may have to do with the androgens, the presence of more androgens, I guess, or a type, more testosterone, whatever it is, in the uterus at a certain point in time, which may be why some people are born gay and other people, because it is something you're born with, and some people are born straight. And I'm being very binary here.
Do you think, though, that it is possible to be born straight, but somewhere along the lines of your life become attracted to the same sex and be gay?
I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea.
Just trying to pretend he doesn't know.
No, I've been trying to say I don't know a lot more ever since Trump won. Because I was like, let me tell you another reason he's not going to win, guys.
Well, because some people think that you can learn gay behavior, which is why some people are really terrified of gay people. They think they're going to get turned gay.
Those people are latently gay.
They might be.
Yeah.
They might be.
I could be around guys
But
fucking all the time.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
But you're not an easily influenced guy in that regard. Like, there's some fucking people out there that you just know you could talk into sucking your dick if you were gay. You just know.
Yeah.
They might not be gay.
Like
but
Brendan
you could talk-
Schaub, for example.
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
How dare you?
Sorry, he's not here to defend
I
himself.
feel like there's a certain percentage of the population that could be shifted around. They'll adopt an English accent if they live in England for
Sure.
a week. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, there's a certain
Yeah,
percentage.
peer pressure.
Yeah, they'll suck a dick for peer. They'll turn gay to have better friends.
So let me ask you this.
I believe that.
They'll suck a dick
But you can't
to
say
have
that's
better friends.
I really believe that's true, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it necessarily. Because why is that any better than being, or worse rather, than being indoctrinated to a certain school of music? Like, we only
you're
listen
social.
to
You wanna
this
be part
kind
of a
rock.
tribe,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Why is it any different than a religion or anything else that people get super sucked into and they alter their behavior?
I had one gay feeling.
Like feeling?
A feeling, if I'm really honest with myself.
Like Flashdance? What a feeling?
No, it was when I believed in my heart that me and Tom Cruise were friends. When I got to talk to him for about an hour and a half, and we were having a really
gay?
deep discussion. And I had, of course, met him before that because I did a reading with him. And we were having this great talk. And I was even like teasing him, going, "What's it like to be the king? Do you have servants?"
Ew, wish I was there.
Joking around. No, it was a good conversation.
Wish I was there,
But I
too.
remember thinking to myself, if this guy's gay, he's very cute, right? He's got a little face. And I thought to myself, if this guy's gay, and he really wanted to be my friend, and I could hang out with him, and I was drunk enough.
Do you think he can take your whole hog in his mouth, though, if he's got a little face?
Hey,
I
don't
would
bring
worry
it down.
about that.
I didn't talk about my dick here. I'm talking about my mouth, bro. I don't need you talking about dick sucking. I didn't say that.
His face, if it's a small face. If you're going to pick a guy to fuck, you definitely want one that can blow you.
Yes, I need a small head, but I'm not
You
attracted
don't
to
want
big
a
heads.
small head, but if it's a big head, then you can get your whole dick in his
Oh
mouth.
no, I like really shoehorning that bad boy in there. Yeah. Now you're gonna have to snake this down. Yeah, gotta unhinge your jaw here. It's not gonna be comfortable.
A
I'm
lot
gonna
of
be honest with you.
scratching and hard surfaces, man. You want more soft surfaces.
Nah, I want to shoehorn it in there. I'll get some butter
Why
for
do you
around your
think women
mouth.
are sticking stuff into their lips and what are they
Yeah.
doing? They're accentuating soft surface area.
Yeah.
They're trying to get you more excited about them putting your dick in their mouth.
I'm also a fan of that, and that's what I'd make Tom do if we were dating. I'd make
That's
him plump
coming
his
back,
lips
by
up.
the way. Women they're shooting their lips up again. It's getting more prevalent. I see it all the
I
time.
don't get it. I don't like it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, apparently now they can do it where it's not so hard.
Right.
You know, or before they were doing it and then the lips would be hard, and that kind of freaked people out.
I have a problem with the hard lips. It's
weird.
I've kissed hard lips before.
You've kissed fake lips?
Yeah, I don't like them.
Well, it's just a bizarre compromise because one of the sexiest things about kissing is like the feeling of someone's lips moving with your lips and their tongue moving with your tongue, and then all of a sudden, like, you have this like third partner there, this implant, and you feel it. And you're rubbing it around in each other's mouths, and it's like, what is in your lip?
But
Like,
you know
you
what?
got lip, and then there's like you got an Oreo lip.
But
like
some
there's
people-
a cream filling in this lip. There's like some shit going on in there.
But they've said that some people are driven by. So if you and I look at a woman, right? We look at her lips, big soft. I love big lips, right? Soft lips. You look at her breasts. And I think to myself, what that would feel like, right? What triggers me is the idea of what those lips would feel like to kiss or grab, and it becomes this primal thing.
Right.
But they say some people are more driven by like a visual stimulus. So some guys prefer fake tits. In fact, they even like them to look fake. They like big lips. Some guys will tell their girls to get big lips. They'll tell their girls to get, big fake tits because they'd rather that. Even though they're hard, they're willing to compromise the feel for the visual. And so depending on what you're driven by, there's a book written about this, and I can't remember the book, but and in a very small portion, people are driven by auditory stimulus. So your voice might be enough to get a girl going. You could look like, whatever, somebody's not attractive, but your voice is what gets her going. So it all depends on what triggers people, what their overwhelming sort of what the connection is to their senses.
Probably the biggest one, the biggest difference between men and women is the desire for a successful companion. Like, men don't give a fuck if a woman's successful.
No, they don't.
At all.
I was going to ask you that. What do you think it is? Because it's not just about beauty, going back to that robot thing. I've dated. We've always had beautiful women in my life. But there's always one you fall on. You're compatible with a lot of women. I've loved many women in my life, but there's something about some women that gets you to shack up with them.
Well, the same thing with friends too. It's like, why did you and I become instant best friends?
Right.
Like right away. Like I met you when we were on the set of Mad TV, and like within like 20 minutes, we're like, oh, you're one of me. Stay together. Let's stick together.
Yeah.
We're gonna be okay. Finally, I found one. I mean, we've been best friends from that moment on.
Right.
Like literally, we were close immediately.
Exactly.
But there's other people that you meet, and you're like, ugh.
Right.
Like, get out of here. And they might be fine. And then someone might say, oh, my God, have you met Mike? He's amazing. And you're like, yeah, Mike's a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm bored.
But yeah, you're bored.
I'm bored. I don't want to do it.
But what is
that?
that? Is that just
personalities?
Yeah.
And who you
don't
are
resonate,
would
right?
drive some people fucking crazy. Your wife loves it. It's like who you are versus who they are. Like sometimes it goes like this, shoop, and the fingers of the hand fit into the fingers of the other hand, and everything's great.
Chemical.
And other times it's just they're clashing teeth, and
Yeah.
you ever kiss somebody and clash teeth? You're like,
Yeah.
what in the fuck are we doing here?
Yep.
Neither one of us know what the hell we're doing. Clink.
How are you not on my rhythm?
It's just perfect.
Yes.
And some people, the sex is like that too. It's like it's rhythmic, it moves, it flows. And other people, it's just clunky. And,
That's
and
right.
it's the same person. You're the same person. And it's, for whatever reason, it might not be them. It might be you. It might be the two of you together. You just fucking, and I think that's part of the mechanism that makes this weird world work. Human beings, the way I view them, are a gigantic superorganism working towards some sort of an unknown technological goal. I feel like if I had to do a one-sentence overview of the human race, that's what I would say. And I think that somewhere along the line, our individual personalities and our individual hobbies and obsessions and desires, all of those, although they appear to be coming from us uniquely and us as an individual, and even though we relate to tribes who are also into, whatever, jujitsu or kettlebells or ballet or whatever the fuck it is, ultimately, all these pieces fit into place as these portions of this superorganism that make things flow in a forward direction. And whether you're obsessed with architecture or whether you're obsessed with achieving peak fitness or running 1,000 miles in an hour, whatever the fuck it is, all of those things are working together collectively in the entire superorganism of the human race. And they're working towards some sort of a technological goal. Because the technological world and the world of technological innovation is slowly but surely integrating itself into our lives. If we looked at it objectively, we'd be like, whoa, this is like a life form that's asking to be born from the husks of human civilization. Like it's going to go inside of us, and it's going to give birth like some sort of aquatic worm that comes out of a fucking grasshopper it talks into jumping into a pond.
Well, I just think it's interesting that human beings are spending enough time creating virtual experiences so that eventually, if you look at the trajectory of this and the technology at play, you're going to be able to have experiences of what it's like to be someone else.
Yeah, for
Okay?
sure.
So if you can download it into their brain or whatever, they're already this thing called the Empathy Project, I think, where you go to a room and they bring the Syrian refugee crisis to you. So you put on these virtual goggles, and you're inside the tent of a refugee family in a refugee camp. Kids are playing.
Wow.
The mom and dad are there cooking food, and you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it, and they're all around you. It's three-dimensional, and it gives you a sense.
What program is this for?
It's a program.
For,
it's a
the
museum.
Vive?
It's a museum. There you go. God, I love the
Collection
way
of
you did it.
virtual reality experiences to help us see the world through the eyes of another. This is a beautiful idea.
Yeah. And
What
so,
an amazing idea.
Yeah. So what happens?
Hold on,
is,
back that up. Back that up so I could read it because this sound. Back it
The
up.
video, I can't.
Yeah, but you could back up the video. No,
No.
you can't rewind it.
No.
It's the video on their website. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And isn't that amazing? So now you can experience what it's like to be someone else who's been through a hard time and realize in many ways that they're very human. Well, I have all these emotional triggers around Arabs and stuff because I grew up in the Arab world, and they're very much people to me, right? The Middle East, that this strange place with all those fanatics. And when you grow up there the way I did, you lived there for 8 years of your life, you have a very different point of view on the Middle East and Arabs. What I think of when I think of Arabs is I see a smiling face and a welcoming mat. I see somebody who's making me tea and bringing me into their house and giving me food. I see a group of them who are laughing their ass off and having a blast, and I see people hugging and holding hands. That's just how I grew up. So I have an emotional trigger when I hear people stereotype Arabs in a certain way, right? It's just an interesting thing. So I think that's because I had that virtual experience. And I love this idea because as we are able to experience what it's like to be someone else and realize how similar they are to us, despite all the cultural differences, hopefully it'll make for at least a more... You know what the problem with all this is? Yeah, it'll make for a more understanding world until I got to compete for fucking water. And my daughter's thirsty.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to off you.
Well, it seems like there's plenty of water. I think the biggest problem that we've got right now is that we've been going through a war with the Middle East for 13 years. And when you go through a war for 13 years, what is the time? Like, say if you do something, like if you're on heroin for 6 years, how long does it take for that to the effects of your body to bounce back from being on heroin for 6 years? Because it's not going to be a week, right? Is it going to be a year, a couple of years? Is it going to be half the time? Is it going to be 3 years? Whatever it is, you got to think of a war as being something like some sort of horrible trauma to an organism.
It takes a generation at least.
Right. Like
more.
It's like a scar that has to heal over and it has to be worked on.
Yeah.
I mean, you have many generations that are going to remember Grandpa getting blown up when he was in a wedding party because they thought that he was with...
Talk to the Jews about the genocide,
Some
about the
imam.
Holocaust.
Yeah.
Talk to the Armenians
Yeah.
about the genocide in 1914 or 18, whenever it was.
Yeah.
They're still out in the street,
Of course.
right? Dan Carlin talks about how there's such fresh memories. Even if you say to a Chinese person that you have a point of view on sort of the benefits of Mongol expansion, even though that was how many, it was 1260 or whatever it was, you'll get a lot of Chinese ire. You'll get a lot of people. It's still somehow fresh. That trauma lasts and is passed down through generation to generation.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been to Japan, one of the things that people always talk about is how the older Japanese people do not like Americans. And why fucking would they? We dropped 2 nuclear bombs on their little tiny-ass country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's super hard to erase the memory of horrific events in 13 years of war, no matter whose side you're on. That is a horrific event. It's all in this one area. So it's going to take a long time before we can look at Arabs the way you look at Arabs from being there.
Of course.
And that's unfortunate, man. And it's unfortunate because it's one of those self-perpetuating things. Like if you're afraid of people, if you think people are out to get you, then they become out to get you. Like you realize that you're taking these big giant steps to keep them away from you. You're prejudiced against them, and they're going to be upset that you're prejudiced against them. And then,
but I love Americans because Americans always go out of their way. Like all Americans go out of their way to be like, I don't care. There's this idea that all the Trump supporters are these fanatics and they're anti this and that. I guarantee that the majority of people in all the states, the red states, would give any Syrian or Arabic guys Americans. I guarantee the credo would be, hey, they're human beings. I'm willing to give them a chance. If they're good people, they're good people. There's this idea that they're terrorists, these motherfuckers, and I'm just an ignorant guy with a gun. I don't buy that.
Well, there's definitely a lot of people like that.
There are a lot of people like that, but on an individual basis, I guarantee most people are intelligent enough to go, I'll take them as it comes. I treat individuals the way they are. I think we are tribal. I think everybody has their own racial prejudices and things like that. But I think it's way more layered and nuanced and more complicated.
For a lot of people, but for a lot of people are really fucking simple, and their ideology says that Christianity is the only way, and this ideology of the Muslims is dangerous, and the Prophet Muhammad was a dangerous person. These are dangerous people, and we let them over here. We're taking a big chance. America, land of the free, home of the brave, freedom.
That may be the collective dialogue.
Right.
I don't think that's the individual. For example, I think most of them, if somebody was Arabic and they had an opportunity to alleviate their suffering by bringing them into their house and giving them a meal.
I think you watched too many Bruce Willis movies.
I don't think
90s.
so. I think the most of them would do it. I really do.
Well, I think most of them, if they knew the people, for sure. I think overcoming prejudices against cultures or religions or anything are very difficult to do, because once those things are set in stone, it's like your body has a warning pattern that it's looking for. Like, this pattern's repeating itself. We've seen this before. This is religious fundamentalism. This is people that are crazy. They're going to blow themselves up.
Well, and to an extent, that's not misplaced. So, when I hear of a bomb going off or a guy driving a truck and running over 80 people in France, my first guess, and I'm always right, is that he's probably a young Muslim male. That doesn't make me anti-Muslim. It doesn't make me anti-Arab. It just means I'm pretty good, or not even, I don't have to be that good at pattern recognition.
Yeah, well, we also have to really take into consideration the sheer numbers of human beings that we're dealing with on a daily basis. Where you're getting the news from.
Yeah.
You're getting the news from the events that happen to 7 billion people. And that's just way too many for us to make rational discussions about it, because rationally, you shouldn't know about what the fuck is happening in France. You shouldn't know that some Muslim guy drove a truck over all these people. You're not there.
Right.
Right? And there's
It's
nothing
so
you can
far
do
away.
about it. And you know how many other Muslim men didn't run over somebody with a truck that day? So that's where it gets weird.
Yeah.
Because you don't even take those people into consideration when you're talking about Muslim males. You're only talking about those one males.
Yeah.
It's like gun owners. Like, people have this idea of gun owners. Well, gun owners are a bunch of fucking paranoid nuts with canned food in their basement, and they're buying gold from Alex Jones. No. Occasionally, one of those guys shoots up a school.
Yep.
Occasionally.
Yep.
But you know how many people own guns? There's more guns in this country than there are fucking people.
Oh, yeah.
So if we really had like this crazy gun problem, things would be going off way more than they do.
Yeah.
It's remarkably safe considering the amount of fucking firearms are available.
Remarkably.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
Like, almost every day of your life, you go through town and you don't hear a single gunshot.
But that's also going back to what I was saying about, when somebody owns a gun, or like Rose McGowan says, somebody says smile. And she immediately says, I'm putting words into her mouth, but this is essentially what she said in the interview, that guy is being in one way or another sexist, or being in one way or another somewhat oppressive and suppressive. I'm sure she feels that. What I'm saying is that for that guy, he may just be clumsily trying to say hi to the most beautiful creature he's ever seen in his life. The same way with gun owners. Gun owners,
right,
a lot of times.
But hold on, let me stop you there,
Yeah.
because couldn't it be both things?
It could be both things. It could be both
to
things.
him, it could be this one thing. But
Yes.
to her, like, look, if you're like really into raping girls and it makes you feel awesome, and
Of
you
course,
don't
of
want
course.
them to feel like it's rape, but it is.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
100% that they're always there.
I'm not equating those two, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that there could be two different things going on: his intention and the actual result.
Yes, 100%. I'm just saying, when you draw these blanket statements, like, so when men own guns, right? If you hear the dialogue on the left, a lot of times it's like, well, these gun nuts, or these gun owners who are into all this other stuff, this macho stuff. Or a lot of men own guns. A lot of men, it's going to sound crazy. A lot of men own guns, like me, because it's the most effective way to protect my family in case somebody comes in my house in the middle of the night. That's actually something I think about. It's something I'm ready for. It's something I prepare for.
Okay,
Have
let's
done for the past 20
settle
years.
down.
A lot of men do, though.
Crazy.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day.
Brian like practices escape routes. He's got paths for ambushes. He's got pinch points in his house.
I like pinch points. The fuck is a pinch point?
Pinch point is when people have to travel through a corridor.
That's great.
Yeah, so if like the
I
movie
have no pinch
300,
points.
the movie
Yeah.
300, the Persians had to
The
come
hot
through
gates,
that area.
Thermopylae.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pinch
Dude,
point.
I need some hot gates.
This
I
would
need
be a
some
good
pinch
place
points.
to set up a tree stand if you're hunting deer.
Yes.
You want to go through the pinch point. If they have to make their way out into the field,
I feel
they
the
have
best.
to go through the woods.
I
They
feel
usually-
my next house is going to be just a fucking series of pinch points.
Oh. Where are you going to move to?
Somewhere where there are a lot of pinch points,
Are
bro.
you going to stay in California forever?
Probably.
Mm.
No. Let me put it this way. I want to just stand up forever.
Forever.
Yeah, I'm never going to stop. No one.
Wow. I remember when you weren't doing it at all.
Well, I do it all the time, and I never stop doing it. It's my
But
favorite
you
thing in
did
the world.
stop once.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember. That was a long time. That was a different guy. That was a guy. That was a different guy.
I'm acting like you dated my sister.
That was the guy. I used to.
Hey, you
that was the
broke
guy.
up with her, bro. You might be back with her, but you broke up with her, bro. Don't we do that, though? There's something about stand-ups. When you find out that somebody quit stand-up, you're like, oh, what happened?
Right.
What kind of life do you have now?
Right. I just thought of that. Fuck, that's funny you say that.
What kind of life do you have now?
Just thought of somebody like
Yeah.
that. I was like, what happened to that guy? He was doing a lot of stand-up, and you stopped?
I know, man. Like, you and I had a great fucking time last night at the Comedy Store. Go down there. It's just
Sold out.
killer show.
Oh.
It was so much fun.
What a blast that
Powerful
was.
Sam Tripoli.
By the way, a monster. Nobody knows
I
how
love
good he is.
Sam.
How good is he? He'll
very
kill
funny.
you. He'll kill.
I brought him with me on the road once in Edmonton. He lit that place on fire because he's getting ready for his CD that he taped in Edmonton. He taped
Wow.
his CD at that club there.
Wow.
What's the club in Edmonton?
It's
You've
called
been
the
there.
Comic Strip.
Yeah, that spot.
Rick Bronson,
Yeah,
great
so
club.
we did the casino up there that they always in Edmonton where they always have fights. And fucking what's the name?
I
of
know
it?
the-
River
I know
Creek.
the- yeah,
River Creek,
yeah.
awesome place. And dude, he lit it on fire. Lit that place on fire.
He's a
It was-
beast.
yeah.
I call him the monster. He can destroy.
had
I
a
went
tie
to,
on last night.
Yes, he
Shoot.
did. I went to Afghanistan with that guy.
Did you
Afghanistan.
really? Whoa.
Me, him, and Duff Davidoff and Steve
Wow.
Byrne.
Any gay stuff happen?
I'm not going to go into that. May have met some soldiers. I was their traveling concubine in there, and they showed me what a pinch point is.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a pinch point right here. I'm the peel this piece right here. He's breathing on my neck. Same guy took me a scuba diving on Tahitian. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But Sam would get up and he would open for us. We'd go out there. He'd just get a mic and a little box, and it's like that's awkward with all these soldiers sitting around in a war zone. That dude lit it up every fucking time.
Well, one of the things about Sam is he, like a lot of Comedy Store comics, has done that room when there was zero crowd control, and he would get a lot of late spots. So you learn that combat comedy style.
Combat comedy.
It's like
style.
he's like probably more confident and comfortable when shit goes crazy. When people start yelling
yeah.
at him, like, been here before. Here we go. I know you ain't been here, but I've been here.
Yes.
Let's roll, buddy.
Yes. My favorite with Sam is he's always changing his face, his look. He's got a goatee, got a mustache, got a full beard, got no beard. And I'm like, shaved up. He goes, switch it up sometimes. Got to switch it up. Like to switch it up sometimes. Then he grabs my body and he goes, how the fuck do you do it? How do you do it? You got the best body in comedy. I go, Joe Rogan has the best body in comedy. And then I walk away. I love him.
He loves you.
I got to get him on the podcast.
He's a good dude.
The Fighter and the Kid. Not
Not the Bryan Callen
not
show?
the Brian. We call it mixed mental arts now.
That's what you're calling it now?
I think it's better. Mixed
Yeah.
mental arts, because Hunter was
Yeah.
like,
It's a great name.
Yeah, because mixed mental arts is better, and we've been having these great conversations, and Hunter was like, let's stop being so myopic. Let's just get all the ideas under one umbrella. Let's make ideas accessible. It's a bold, ambitious project, but he's like, I want to make sure everybody knows that there's no such thing as being smart. We can all know these ideas and have a constructive conversation.
Well, he's got a great attitude about it, and that really is the approach, too, that it's not about smart, it's about information.
Yes.
Like, I've had conversations with people about something, and I'll explain something to them, and they go, God, I feel so stupid. Like, you're not stupid. Like, I'm not smart. I just know this.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know this is because somebody figured it out, and I bothered reading it. That's it.
That's it.
But we, like, hold that over people's heads with, like, such extreme arrogance.
Yes.
Because so many people want to cling to almost anything as, like, a sign of superiority.
Yeah.
Whether it's information that they have, accomplishments that they've done, the money that they have in the bank, whatever the fuck it is. Like, they always constantly want to have this thing
Right.
that separates them from you.
Right.
You know? And that's one thing that people love to do with information. Well, if you had known, if you had read this, then you would know that.
Yeah.
Well, how about you cut this shit and just tell me that?
Tell me it.
And I'll have but is also this thing that we all do, and that you and I have worked very hard to stop doing over the last decade or so, which is to try to win conversations.
Yes.
Because it's a fucking horrible impediment to learning anything. Like
Exactly.
the best way to have a conversation is, I mean, challenge ideas for sure, but just talk.
Yeah.
Just talk. Like if someone's telling you something and you have a question, don't look at it like you're attacking it. Look at it like, what is this we're discussing? What is this actual thing?
Yeah.
Like, you know that weird thing that people do when they shut down, and you know that they're not really discussing what you're saying. They're just trying to find a way where they could win the conversation.
Yeah, because their point of view makes them feel a certain way.
Yes.
And if you start to break down those walls, they're afraid you're going to take away that feeling of security or whatever that feeling is,
And
right?
the confidence in being consistently right.
That's right.
That's a big one.
Yes.
So when someone's not right about something, like I have a good friend who's he's an animal rights activist guy, vegan guy, and he was saying, we were talking about the precursors for hormone development and whether or not saturated fat and cholesterol are the essential precursors to hormone development. Well, it's pretty much established fact, like scientific fact.
That's right.
So, and he didn't think it was because he was reading a lot of this like ideological dogma on it, plant-based dogma. So I started sending him all the stuff, and then he's like, "Okay, I got it. All right." And now it has to soak in. Now we can have a discussion
Right.
about it. Well, look at all this. Look at all these studies. Look at all these things. Like, we're not saying you should go out and be an animal eater. No one's saying that.
No, but look at the evidence, look at the data.
Look at what it actually is.
Right.
And look what this is the actual problem with the China study. This is the actual problem with not getting enough B12. This
Right.
is the actual problem with not getting enough this vitamin, that data. Saturated fat, cholesterol, all these fucking things that we were told as kids are bad for you.
Right.
Which is a huge problem because most people don't learn anything about nutrition past what they learn in school. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Well, one of the biggest things for me is just having been around Hunter as much as I have, and we always talk about how, and I've had to confront so much of this in my own ways. I have a fast-thinking brain. We all do, right? That fast-thinking brain that triggers at things. If you start talking about liberalism, if you start talking about big government, if you start talking about communism, Marxism, I'll get ready to defend my free market, American Fox News.
Why don't you have a show on Fox News?
I'm defending my dad. That's what I'm doing.
That's
right?
it,
I have an
right.
emotional attachment to that. And so I'll stop listening to you about 5 seconds in, and I've already got my guns. I'm already loading my guns. As you're talking, I'm going, hold on, let me get my guns. Hold on. Yeah, I hear you. And now I can't wait to blast away at your collective ideology, right?
Right.
And then I'll drop books like F.A. Hayek's The Road to Serfdom and all the things I've read. And all I want to do is win.
Right.
And so I've had to, and we always talk about this, like Hunter will send me articles that'll get me enraged. And I'll freak out, and I'll write this thing, and he'll get me, and he'll go, "Feel better, Brian? Now do you want to tranquilize that big, fast-thinking elephant that you've been riding? And let's get some slow thinking involved and take a look at how your feelings are driving your thinking." It's a very fun exercise because as you get older, what happens is you're able to sit back and somebody says something and you're able to go, instead of me loading my guns, let me listen a little bit hard. Let me see if I can take something from that. Maybe there is a good argument. Maybe I don't have to be a Marxist, but maybe there is some value to regulation. Maybe there is some value to the FDA or, whatever it might be. I've been reading.
So do you, like, you have free market sort of prejudices in that regard, where you lean towards deregulation and lean towards a freer market because more money gets made, business does better.
I lean toward freedom of choice. So I like the idea.
Right, but environmental regulation is where I draw the line.
Me too.
That's like the big
That's
one.
a classic example. The fish and game. Wildlife, what is it? The Fish and Game
Department of Fish and Game.
Excellent job.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. You and I know, and you know even more
And
than
the
I do, of
states as
course.
well. They all deserve recognition
Fuck
because
yes.
they've brought animals back from the brink of extinction to gigantic populations.
Because dudes get drunk and they shoot the shit out of everything that moves. That's what happens.
There was actually market farming. Market farming is what did in most of the animals in this country. After the war, one of the things that happened was there was a lot of soldiers after the Civil War that needed jobs, and one of the jobs that was available was market farming.
What does that mean?
It means they didn't have refrigerators back then, buddy. So if you wanted meat, you had to go out and get it. And so one of the things they would do is they would hire these young men to take their rifles and go out and shoot every fucking buffalo that moved. Wow. They would shoot buffaloes just for their tongues. They would cut out the tongues of the buffaloes. God. They would shoot other ones just for their pelts. They'd shot down everything in sight, down to antelope. It was harder to shoot antelope and kill them off because they're designed from the fucking to have things like cheetahs chasing them.
Yeah, smaller. They keep it long.
Well, they're
distance.
way faster than anything that can catch them because they evolved during a time where cheetahs lived in North America. Big cats lived in North America that were bigger than lions and African lions. So when you're thinking about these times and these people that wiped out all the animals in this country, there was a host of factors, a bunch of different pressures on these animals.
Sure.
But a lot of it was market hunting.
Yeah.
And so when hunters came along, like in the beginning of the 20th century, there was very few deer. And to find like a big deer with like a giant rack, super rare. Elk they had been extirpated from a gigantic segment of the population or a gigantic segment of the country. And so they've slowly repopulated in these groups like the Rocky Mountain Elk Federation. They've transplanted elk down to
deer are so
Kentucky
plentiful
and everywhere else.
Yeah, deer are so plentiful also because they eat corn and a lot of the agricultural crops that we've planted.
That is true, and that's also why white-tailed deer have done so much better than mule deer. Mule deer are kind of, in a much hairier position. They still have healthy populations. They still hunt them, and you find them everywhere. But mule deer, they don't live off crops. Like white-tailed deer is like our friend Doug Duran's farm. Doug has this awesome place in Wisconsin.
Shout out to Doug.
Powerful Doug Duran. He has essentially, they're farm animals. But they're not. They're wild. They're these giant-ass wild deer. Yeah. But they only go around his farm or farms in the area because there's corn everywhere.
This is corn-fed deer. Some of the best meat I've ever had, by the way.
Incredible. Like, you're literally getting, like, they're eating that fucking Monsanto corn.
Did you bring me any elk?
I got a fucking freezer full.
I need some, for real.
I got a freezer full.
I eat game meat.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Don't let me leave without it.
Come on.
I eat game meat.
We need to hunt more.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
See, you didn't get balls deep like I did.
I'm tired of all the fucking talk about...
Listen, you went hunting with me once, and then you did
I've
it a couple of times.
I've been hunting 3 times, motherfucker.
But you never got crazy with it. I got crazy with it.
I'm really missing hunting. I said it to my wife yesterday. But I miss the hangout. You don't care. We have a great time. I started thinking I did something wrong. How much fun did we have? Did we not laugh the whole time?
We struck out twice and had a great time.
We still laughed.
We had a fucking wonderful time. So, I struck out the last time I went with Renella.
When are we going hunting?
Had a great time.
When are we going hunting? You're hiking with him because he likes to suffer, and I'll hike with...
No. You got to come with us. We gotta figure out a spot where we could go, where we have a reasonable chance of success, because you always want the option, the possibility, rather, of failing. Yeah. You really do. Like, you don't want to go hunting. You don't want to shoot fish in a barrel. No. You want to go.
I like looking and
And when he does it is the best way. Honestly, I've hunted a bunch of different ways. The most satisfying way and the way that feels the best to me is public land. Yeah. Because you get a tag, you get a over-the-counter tag, you go on public land, you hunt an animal, you kill it, you eat it, everybody sits down over the fire, and it's one of the best moments in life.
Yes.
Yeah, Rennell is a master. He really has a lot of the aspects of life worked out in like as far as like being a sportsman in the 21st century and being a spokesperson for it.
Right.
Because he's so well-read and he's so smart and he's so articulate and reasoned. Like when he makes discussions and has debates with people about it, his approach is so intelligent. It's very rare that you find someone in that world that's so good at expressing themselves.
Yeah, he's amazing that way. He's so knowledgeable. He's always got something to surprise you.
Yep.
He's always got something to say. But we got to go. We should go. I want to maybe go elk hunting or something.
Elk's
I know you bought me a
one.
bow.
Yeah.
And you won't have me over to shoot it.
We're going to set you up with a new one. Like the one I gave you, got it a year and a half ago.
I don't care. What's wrong with that one?
No, they have new ones. They're better.
I'm not getting a new one. I'm sticking to the one you gave me. I'm not trading my unused bow, my brand new
you have a
graphite dust on it still bow.
It's carbon. Yeah, you have a carbon spider. It's a really good bow.
Yeah, well, believe me,
you
I'll
know.
be saying it's a carbon spider.
Yes,
Is that
very
is
Hoyt
it?
carbon spider.
It's called a carbon spider.
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad. I was gonna say it was made of carbon spider, and they'd be like, "You're a liar."
SPYDER. I don't know why. Like they use that word spider for
Yeah.
like
Spider.
Porsche Boxster spider.
Yeah.
SPYDER. I don't know why.
Spider.
So it's for like certain cars that are convertibles, but it's
Right.
also for that bow.
Maybe
No,
it's a
I don't know
it's
why.
a trademark thing. Maybe the spider lobby.
But it's a really good bow. The Hoyts are the best. There's like 3 or 4 really good bow manufacturers, but it's generally
There are 6-year listeners like, oh,
Yeah.
he gets into fucking bows.
generally thought of that it's Hoyt and Matthews are the top bows in the world.
Those are
And
the
then
only
there's
fucking bows I'll shoot.
Elite, and then there's Bowtech, which is also really up there too. And it's really depends on who you ask.
I'm a Hoyt guy.
Oh, yeah, you got a Hoyt.
Yeah, I'm a Hoyt guy, dude. What's the
Can't
other
get
one?
any better. There's nothing better than a Hoyt. It's Matthews.
Yeah.
The question is like if you talk to guys like John Dudley, he'll say that Hoyts are better. He said like that in his opinion, and he knows way more than me. He thinks that Hoyts are the best bows in the world. So I just listen to him. And Cameron Haynes says the same thing. So I go, well,
those
there
two
you
guys
go.
would know.
Nobody knows more about
No.
bow hunting than
Now,
Cameron
are you
Haynes.
only into bow hunting now? Are you not interested
No,
in
I'm
in a
into
scope?
meat from animals.
Okay.
So I will shoot like if I need meat and I'm
Yeah.
running low on meat, I'll hunt an animal with a rifle.
Okay.
But what I'm really into, man, is archery. I love archery. Even if I never bow hunted again, and even if I just hunted with a rifle because it was too hard to bow hunt, which it's not, and I will bow hunt again for sure.
Right.
But archery is, to me, it's like a meditation. Archery's a martial art in a lot of ways. But it's a stillness martial art. It's a martial art where you're perfecting one move, this one move of having your arm out in front of you. Your hand is like in a halt position, like that's where it is. And then the bow doesn't pass over the lifeline. You want it on this side of the lifeline. So it never goes deep in your grip, so you're not torquing your wrist. So it's basically just balanced up against your hand.
Right.
And then you're pulling back, and you're locking in your anchor point, and you're looking through your peep sight, and all you're concentrating on is pulling back your scapula and releasing that arrow without moving at all.
Now,
And that
what about
one motion?
How bent is your?
Straight. Lock
It's
your
straight.
arm
But what
out.
about?
Yeah.
But last time I
you
did
can
that,
bend it a little bit.
last time I did that, the
it's because your stance
cord
is wrong.
hit my
yeah.
fucking hand, and
Yeah, because you're all out. You're
hurts
like
so
this.
badly.
You're supposed to be like this.
I'm
If
really-
you're like
I'm
this,
very
the string
expressive, though.
passes right by. I've hit my forearm before.
It hurts like
it's
a
gonna hurt a little
motherfucker.
bit. Yeah, but just don't. You shouldn't ever hit your forearm. If you're shooting correctly,
Yeah.
you'll be in a position where the big toe of your foot lines up with the ball of your rear foot. So your front foot, big toe,
cool.
and your rear foot's ball, and that gives you a slightly open stance, very slightly.
See,
Just think
fucking
about
love
it like
this-
martial arts.
This, I
because
love this stuff. I love technique like that. When
well, then you
talk
got to
about
learn
that,
from Dudley, because John Dudley he's got a podcast that if you want to super geek out about archery, it's a podcast called Knock On, and the Knock On podcast is John's podcast where he discusses like intricate details about cam timing and arrow weights and front of center how much kinetic energy each arrow has based on what percentage of weight is in the front of the arrow. It's like what?
But see,
in
what I
the
love
fuck?
about that is when you master something like Dudley, in a way, you learn everything. Like,
Yeah.
in a way, you're learning so much about life, maybe everything that's relevant about life in some ways. I know you're going to get orthodox in your thinking, your brain patterns will be a certain way, but like when you start talking that way and he's thinking about like grade and weight and aerodynamics and like
It's
he's
a
got to
discipline.
learn. Yeah.
It's a great discipline. What archery really is a rabbit hole. And some people go down that rabbit hole and they go, fuck this rabbit hole, and they get like an old school recurve bow and just learn instinctive shooting. And they just get into just releasing the arrow on their own and knowing it's almost like you throw a rock. If you throw a rock, you know what your arm feels like, you kind of know where that rock's going to
Yeah.
go. And then you get pretty accurate about throwing rocks. But if you want to get really accurate, you got to throw rocks every day.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with recurve bows. If you have the exact same weight arrow, so if you have a stack of these arrows and you shoot, you know that if you bend it this way and you pull it back to here, it goes that far. Okay. I'll say, well, if the animal's here, then I got to aim here. And you just develop this
Becomes a feeling.
scale in your own mind of where the arrow's going to go.
Right.
But it's not that accurate. It's like if you hunt an animal with a recurve, like I've watched hunting shows where people hunt animals with
a lot
recurves.
of wounding of animals.
There's a lot of sketchy shots.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you watch, like, John Dudley puts out some videos of some of the hunts he's on, they're all getting shot through the heart.
Right.
I'm like 99% of the animals like they don't
Yeah.
even know what happened, and then they're dead.
It's interesting though. Like I was thinking about this because I've been obsessing over boxing, lately, and I like the reason I like to spar is I don't get, I'm not knocking my head off and stuff. And like Brendan's always like, don't spar and stuff. But for me, what I really love is the same thing I loved about Taekwondo, which is that with boxing, it seems so impossible when you first started, and then like 2.5 years later, if you're actually sparring and moving around with people, you'll start developing patterns if you have a good teacher, and you'll start to learn how to get somebody to think one thing, right? So you jab, then you jab low, then you fake Joe, and then and maybe fly into a hook or whatever, and you learn how to protect yourself. Then you can start developing your own sort of similar patterns that aren't. It's a different discipline than archery because archery seems so kinetic and detailed, right? Boxing is more kinetic. It's more, but.
Well,
And
there's more options in boxing.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of split-second timing. There's a lot of getting your opponent to. You're fooling him, really. You're getting him to think you're doing one thing and then capitalizing on sort of. You're saying, you thought I was doing this, and I'm doing this. There's a different kind of thing. But
Right.
what I love about all of it is almost like it's not even so much about the doing of itself. That's always awesome, but I think. What I really get off on sometimes is the discovery, is the learning maybe how to control something that seems so out of control, and sort of the discovery, the continual discovery of new things, and maybe what it does to my brain. Like maybe
Yeah.
that's what I like the mindset it puts me in, and the understanding it gives me, and maybe even the fact that it takes away some of the mystery I was living under, which I felt was a little...
Right, like learning one new thing. Now that one new thing is unearthed, now I understand that a little bit better. I got a little bit more data. Yeah,
and
for sure.
I'm not as intimidated by anything. Like if I meet somebody who's quote unquote really smart and good at one thing, whether it's a surgeon or a brain surgeon or a scientist or a really good fighter. Well, a really good fighter, I've talked to Joe Schilling about this and to Donald Cerrone about this. I was talking about patterns. I'd come up with this. I was talking about this pattern I had, and he goes, "Yeah." And Schilling said, "So we'd have. So the difference is, I'd probably have 30 of those patterns that I have deep in my memory. It's like Roberto Duran. I can't remember who's fighting him, but he came back and he said, the fucking guy can read my mind, and I think it was his trainer said, he's not reading your mind. What he's doing is that he knows those patterns so well, and he sees you about to set him up, and he's beating you to it. And when I watched Henner Gracie tie up the likes of Brendan Schaub and Lyoto Machida and all kinds of guys in there, and I watched him just do whatever he wanted, starting on his back, and I was like, dude, you're anticipating their movements. You already see what their patterns are because you're ahead of them. And it takes a little bit. You're not going to be as reverential. You're going to love the fact that life is that way, that the universe can be that way. That if you practice something enough, and you get good enough at something, it can seem like what you do is magic, almost, right? But it's not. It's just that you have learned how to chunk large portions of information, and you learn how to be ahead of somebody. And more importantly, when you play somebody at the same game, you're going to see the tendencies. They're going to make tendencies, and you're going to beat them to those tendencies. You're going to be able to head them off. Why? Because you've been there 1,000 times, because you went through the same thing. And the difference between your practicing beginner mind and your mastery mind in that context is vastly different. And I can always tell somebody who's mastered something versus somebody who's never taken the time to really get good at something. I can always tell the difference. And I prefer to be around, not always, because I got some real moron friends that are so much fun, but I typically tend to find more intimacy in conversation with people that have at least continued to endeavor down the road to mastery.
Well, there's very few people that can talk to them.
That's right.
If you're going to talk to a real master about something,
Yeah.
pull someone aside and talk to them about their craft, about achieving an incredibly high level at a very difficult discipline, like a master chess player, for instance. How many people do they have to talk to? Say if Gary Kasparov is at a restaurant and if somebody wants to have a conversation with him about food stamps or fucking
Or
life was
just
insurance
gossip,
sales.
Hollywood gossip.
Yeah,
or just,
Hollywood gossip, right? Whatever happened
People.
to Taylor Swift? You know,
Yeah.
like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's something innocuous like, I can't believe what John did. Like, so I was walking down and then he said, I was going to grab this package and he had it.
Right. Or someone
don't give a
sits
fuck,
next to
dude.
him and it's Sam Harris.
Right.
And Sam Harris and Gary Kasparov have this deep, intense conversation like that fills a void inside of their souls, like
Right.
fills them up.
Right.
Yeah, and it's really hard to find someone that can play ping pong with you, like intellectually at that level.
Well, because maybe it goes back to the same thing we were talking about. They're able to have a real discussion, and they're not as attached to their prejudices,
Right.
Right? Because they tend to be like Sam Harris is. Like if you listen to Sam Harris talk about Trump, his critique is so fair. It's so interesting. Like he's got these great metaphors and stuff, but it's not driven by dogma. It's not driven by my team is right and your team is wrong. He's able to be more objective. He's more humble. Like Wayne McCulloch, who's my trainer, my boxing trainer, like, you know, former world champion. He's been through, when you're a world champion like that, he's the most humble motherfucker on the planet. He'll hold mitts for everybody.
Yeah,
He'll
he's a really
wrap
good
your
guy.
hands. He's the greatest guy in the world. And he doesn't get the respect. Nobody knows what he accomplished as a boxer. It drives me fucking crazy, but that doesn't matter to that fucking guy. He'll give
He's
you
a
everything.
really level-headed guy.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
really
I
got a
like one of my
great
favorite people on
character.
the planet.
Yeah.
I love that motherfucker.
And he was an amazing boxer in his day.
God. And a great teacher.
And a very lightweight guy. So those lightweight guys are the ones that have the real technical skill and footwork
Yes.
and movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he teaches you boxing?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
He's my guy.
Yeah, man.
And he even moves around with me. He'll put on gloves and, you know, just it's funny how he may be small like that, but good luck trying to hit him.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Yeah. When he catches you in the body and you make your 15 mistakes. I love it though. It's so humbling.
Do you think you'll ever get to jiu-jitsu again?
I am dying to.
It
But-
seems like to me like that one you could actually do it in a way where you're not going to get hurt.
That's the big difference between striking and wrestling, and grappling. I love grappling. It's what I started with, and I miss it, and I love it. I like the way it makes my body feel and everything else. And grappling, like jiu-jitsu, you can get really good, and you can roll with top-level guys. When you box, and if you want to get good, you got to spar. And every time I spar with, I'm not sparring tough guys, and I'm sparring pros like my buddy Brandon Adams, who can do whatever he wants to me. He's just moving around with me and touching me. It's great. I learned. You're still getting hit.
Right.
You're still going to get hit. You're still going to take a couple shots. And if you fight somebody who's like your level, somebody's going to that's when you actually get hurt.
Right.
Because, I don't want to lose. You don't want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm 50 and I'm an idiot for doing this, I'm trying to hold on to my fucking, blah. We'll just move around until you catch me and then I'm going to try to catch. It's dangerous. And I would prefer not to do it. It's nerve wracking.
You know who loves it? Louis C.K.
He likes to box?
Yep.
No shit.
Giant boxing fan too. He's at all the big fights.
Does he spar, Louis, or
Yeah,
he just
spars.
Wow.
Yeah, he and I had a pretty deep conversation about boxing. Like, he's a fucking real boxing fan. Like, we were talking about guys like Terrence Crawford. I'm like, oh, look at you.
Damn.
Yeah, he loves it.
I just
Loves it.
rewatched Tommy Hearns fight with Hagler.
Holy
and
shit.
Hearns fight with Sugar Ray.
Holy shit.
And Hearns fight with Duran. That's my thing. I watch So You Think You Can Dance, the best of So You Think You Can Dance, The Voice, I cry, my little private garden, and then I watch old boxing bouts. And it's my favorite thing. And I watch interviews with them now, interviews with them. Tommy Hearns and that jab of his.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, my God.
Did you ever see his fight with Roberto Duran?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
He was like one of the first guys to flatline a guy like Roberto Duran, just leave him laid
I think
out.
it was the first round, or was it the second round?
I think it was the second.
Yeah, second round.
It's hard to remember, but
Yeah,
I remember
it was
the
round
punch.
two. It was round two.
He hit him like a piston.
Blang, 6-1, 145.
This is ridiculous.
Good luck.
And he was wide.
Oh, yeah.
So wide. With
I
all
watched-
that torque behind the punches.
I watched Roger Mayweather fight in his prime.
Black Mamba.
Dude, and he had legs that were about as skinny as,
Toothpick.
well, they look like, 9X cables. They're just like these tiny, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Good luck fighting him, too.
Yeah, there's Hearns flat over Roberto Duran. Look at that picture.
He was a giant 45.
Yeah, he was huge. I think in this time, though, he was 54. I think he went up to 54. That was because Roberto Duran had beaten Davey Moore, and I think that was at 54. Was it at 60? Because Roberto followed all the way up to Hagler.
He's my favorite. Roberto Duran was my favorite fighter just his attitude, like the human pit bull, the stare, how much he loved
bigger
fighting.
Hearns is than him. Good Lord.
Different, literally a different looking human being. I mean,
Yeah, look at that picture of him jabbing him right there.
yeah,
Plop.
David and Goliath right there.
Yeah, it's fucking. He's a large fella, Tommy Hearns.
I know. And Duran loved to fight.
He needs to stay the fuck away from microphones too.
Yeah. Well, perhaps.
That whole talking thing's over.
Oh, then I watched some Hagler. I watched some marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Oh, he was amazing.
Vintage marvelous Marvin
I
Hagler.
still to this day maintain that Hagler should have won that fight with Sugar Ray Leonard.
So do I.
I think Leonard
Watched
didn't
it
do
twice.
enough to win. He's
I
just
agree.
touching him.
I agree 100%. How do you think the big questions are? People ask these, but Gennady Golovkin with Hagler, these kind of
We'll
guys.
never know.
We'll never
But
know.
the real question is, what's Gennady Golovkin going to do with Canelo Alvarez? Floyd Mayweather thinks Canelo Alvarez is going to knock Golovkin out.
I think Golovkin is bigger, taller, longer. He hits every bit as hard, and I think it's a little much for Canelo.
I'm interested.
I want to see what Gennady and Andre Ward would what would happen.
See, the
with
thing
that.
is, did you see the fight with Kell Brooks? Kell
Yes.
Brooks had some serious moments.
He did. He
with
made
Gennady
Gennady look
Golovkin.
human, but the problem was, from what I understand, Gennady also had a bad flu. But
Oh, he
didn't really-
did?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, he had a bad flu.
Well, that changes everything.
Yeah, and then Gennady proceeded to break
Beat him up.
Kell's I think orbital
Yeah,
socket.
he beat him up eventually. But the
Kell
thing
Brooks
is,
a fucking hell of a fighter.
hell of a fighter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Kell Brooks is not Canelo. Canelo's a murderous one-punch knockout artist. It's a totally different experience. Like Canelo can
Yeah.
flatline people.
Yes.
And he does it with bombs. So the question is like whether or not he'll ever be able to get one of those bombs off.
Well, if you watched him with Amir Khan, he'd fake low,
Mm-hmm.
he'd jab low, and come over right, jab low, and it didn't work like 8 times, and
Mm-hmm.
then finally jab low, boom, and just came over the top and just knocked him out.
Yeah.
I think that's one of his main go-to shots. I don't know. Gennady's a different animal,
Totally different animal.
you know.
Yeah, I mean he has a way better chin than
But he
Amir Khan.
also makes you pay for things you throw, because
Yeah.
his counters, when you get hit. My friend's a heavyweight at Box and Burn, David, and he used to spar with him, and he'd wear a body suit when he'd spar with Gennady.
First of all, box and burn. Change your name.
Well,
Change it.
it's doing
We're
very
burning.
well. No, it's doing
Box
well.
and
It's a
burn.
good boxing gym.
Burns. Ooh.
Box and burn.
I mean, seriously, it's like you have boxing mixed with like Jane Fonda workouts. Do you feel the burn?
You get real fighters in there and real
Feel the
actors. You get some serious
burn?
actors in there.
Oh, do you get real actors
Uh-huh.
for real?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, is that why you're there?
I'm not
'Cause
there,
all the
sir.
Real actors
I work
are there?
at Gloveworks with Wayne McCulloch.
Ooh,
But
I'm
I started at Box and
burning.
Burn.
I'm burning.
Hey, that's my boy's gym. It's a great
I feel
gym.
it in my calves. They're burning.
No. Listen, I can't. Don't do that.
Feel the burn.
Dude, that's not how we do it there. No. What are you doing?
Skipping rope.
I've never
With
seen you
titties.
behave that way. Your nipples, I can see your nipples through your shirt. I'm getting a little
I
hard.
hear it's an amazing gym.
It's an amazing gym.
Seriously.
Not when you go like this. My calves.
Yeah,
Why
it's
do
like lift weights and have a hard time breathing.
Yeah.
That's
Lift weights and have a hard time breathing.
lifts weights and hyperventilate. If you had a gym called Lift Weights and Hyperventilate,
That's really funny.
Everybody'd be like, "What the fuck kind of name for a gym is this?" Box and burn.
Burn it
We're
out.
burning it. We're burning the fucking roof off this bitch.
Well, you're not gonna be able to make money in a gym if you just have boxing. Good luck opening a gym. And be like, we just teach you how to fight. You're gonna have 6 people to show up.
But we like to burn.
We like to burn.
We burn.
We
That
teach
would be
classes.
a good place for dudes who like to box and then smoke some weed and chill out afterwards.
Yeah.
Box and burn. You know?
Work out and then
That
just get
makes
high.
sense. Do you ever get high before you work out?
Never have.
That seems odd.
I was in boxing more one time and I was deadlifting 145 for reps though.
That's
for
a lot
reps,
of
guys.
weight.
For reps.
Do you hold that over your head or?
Well, again, I was looking at how skinny my left arm was.
You need to get some Iron Man kettlebells in your life like this bitch.
Well,
right
I've been taking a weightlifting class, which we can get into.
get this in your life.
I like that very much. So we talk about that on it, Iron Man thing. But I'm deadlifting, and Tim Tebow and Brendan Schaub walk in behind me.
Oh boy.
And I got embarrassed and I put it down. Don't work out when I'm talking.
That's what I'm gonna do from
Hey,
now
you're
on.
sweating under your
While
tits.
people are, I sweat a lot, bro. I drink a lot of water. I'm very hydrated.
You
While
got a
people are
lot of-
talking, if I don't like what they're saying, I'm just gonna start lifting.
It's okay because I don't know because I'm just talking about deadlifting in front of those guys at 145. Dude, that's impressive.
It's not really. It's not that heavy.
Have you tried to max out?
No,
lately?
no, I don't max out, man.
No. What do
I
you
don't
think
believe
if
in
you
that.
really had to? What do you think you could bench?
I used to do, what's 3 plates? 305? Is it 305 or 315? What's 225 and 95? 305?
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah, I could do 305 for 3 or 4.
315.
315?
225 's 2 plates, yeah.
Oh, is that what it
90
is?
more. Yep.
Okay.
That's
okay.
a lot of weight. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I can
Damn.
do that.
Have you ever tried to deadlift, Max?
No, never deadlift at max, but I would work out with 450. So what is that?
You work out, you deadlift 450?
Yeah, I deadlift 450.
You work out with 450 pounds.
450 pounds.
That's a fuckload of weight. You're
It's not that much
deadlifting
weight.
that? What do you mean it's not that much weight? On
It's
a
not-
crossbar?
But it's
On a
little
straight
bit
bar or what kind of bar?
Those ones you stand inside, those
Yeah.
hexagon bars, you
Hex
grab
bar.
the sides.
Yeah.
That's the
That's
one
a
I use.
fuckload of weight. What are you talking about?
Strong as fuck, bro.
Yeah, that's
But
really strong.
I've been deadlifting for a long time. You know, I started out deadlifting 225, and then I went up to 3 plates, and now I do
Jesus.
4 plates
Jesus.
and a little bit more. Yeah.
It's total of 9 plates plus the bar
That's
bar
very-
45. So
Yeah. Well, I use 25s and so.
yeah.
That's a fuckload of weight.
Yeah, but I only do it for like 2 or 3 reps. What I believe is that when you get to a certain proficiency at lifting, right? Then and only then should you lift heavy, right? You've built up like a good solid base. Then and only then should you lift heavy. And I follow like the Pavel Tatsulini protocol, where like say if I can do 10 reps of something, I never do 10. I do 5. So like if I get to like if I'm doing something heavy, like if I'm doing 90-pound clean press squats where I'm holding 90 pounds over my head, I could probably do 10 of those, but I only do 4.
Why?
Maybe
Why
5.
so you don't go to muscle atrophy?
I don't go to failure.
Okay.
I don't believe in going to failure. What I think is that you're best off doing less repetitions more often. So instead of doing one day where you blow your whole fucking system out and you do one more, bro, come on, one more, and then the next day you can barely walk.
Right.
I think, and this is what Pavel says, and this is what a lot of people like. There's a company called Strong First. What they recommend, this is like there's a few people at the front of the line when it comes to what you would call functional fitness and functional strength.
Right.
And they think that what Pavel calls greasing the groove, which means do it more often, but do it not to failure. So instead of having one workout every 3 days where you blow your body out,
Right.
have one workout every day and you don't blow your body out, and you'll get stronger quicker.
Stimulate, don't annihilate.
Exactly. There's no reason in
Groove point-
nature
groove
where you would
point-
go to failure.
Yeah.
Why would you go to failure in nature? You wouldn't. So how
That's true.
do animals and people and farmers, how do they get strong? Farmers can get ridiculously fucking strong from going to failure every day. They get ridiculously strong from consistently taxing their body, moving bales of hay, picking up
Sure.
heavy things. I mean, you do that consistently,
Makes
you get
total
stronger and
sense.
stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's mostly what I do. So if I deadlift heavy, which I rarely do, that's what I do, and I only do it for a few reps.
So funny because I did a scene with Matt Hughes on Kingdom, that show that I recur on, and I kind of grabbed him.
Oh, he's a gorilla.
I just grabbed him. I joke around. I'll wrestle with you, man. I was a high school wrestler. I got my elbows in. I'm moving in on him, and he swatted the back of my head. Just kind of grabbed the back of my head. He swatted went like that, and I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my!" I tried to blow my neck up, and I was like, "That's not going to work with Matt's stronger than me. What a surprise!"
Well, imagine if you're dealing with like a heavyweight then.
Right.
Imagine what it's like getting the back of your neck grabbed by Cain Velasquez.
I wrestle with Brendan Schaub sometimes. It becomes a disaster. It's so bad. It's ridiculous.
It is, and then know this, that there's guys out there that would ragdoll him.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
It's so fucking weird.
It gets so crazy.
There is if you think equality exists in nature, I got news for you. Do a sport. Come wrestle. I said to Brendan, we were about to go do a live show. And speaking of which, January 18th, 19th, Vancouver, 20th, Seattle, 21, Portland, and then we got San Francisco, February 9th and 10th. Get your tickets. But we were about to do a live show, and I look at him, and all I said, he was just feeling he had energy, and he started pinching at me. I'm like, hey, stop pinching at me with your giant fucking palms. And he's like, hee, and he's jumping around. And I go, dude, I got to be honest with you, don't fuck around because I box now a lot. And he goes, you do? And his eyes squint out. I go, no, all bullshit aside, I jam guys now when they want to get something else, I'll just jam you. And he goes, what? Show me. And I go, well, so if we're fighting and I get in you, and he goes like that, and I'm in here, and he goes, what if I do this? And he hits me in the side. He just slaps my little tummy in the side like that, and then he kicks me in the leg just very lightly. And I go, I don't like this at all. And he goes, what? And he goes, or what if I go like this? And he goes to do a double leg. All he did was step forward, and I'm such a bitch those two little taps got me so on edge that I threw instead of sprawling naturally, I threw my body backwards. I like the way you would do, like when a girl sees a rock star, she goes, like the stereotypical, like in the movies in the 50s. I throw my body back and I hit my forearm so hard on the fucking door jamb, and I gave myself a deep, deep forearm bruise that I had to perform through. It was very tough for me.
You okay
very
now?
tough. I was very funny.
Yeah, he's a big guy. You're a smaller guy.
The point is, I know what it's like to wrestle with a gorilla.
Yeah. There's different sized people out there. Now imagine if you're a girl, and imagine that guy is saying, why don't you smile?
I do it all the time.
Then you understand, dude, how Rose McGowan feels.
Fuck.
You sexist piece of
Full
shit.
circle, motherfucker.
I brought it all the way back around.
I was
Now
very
you
impressed.
get it.
I do
Because you
now.
could do that to Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
Tell me you couldn't. If you leg kicked her,
Yeah, I would
I'm
never
pretty
want
confident
to.
you could fuck Rose McGowan up.
I probably could.
Right?
I
if it
probably
got
could.
ugly, if Rose McGowan tried to kick your ass,
Yeah.
if you were on a beach and you were competing for coconuts, and she was deciding that you didn't deserve a coconut,
I'd be such a beta male. I'd be like, let me
What would
climb
you
that.
do?
I'd be like, I'll climb that fucking tree for you right now.
how long do you think you'd have to go before you'd have to yell at her? If you were on an island.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question.
You and Rose McGowan on an island.
She'd probably be very effective, I would imagine.
How so?
I think she's probably one of those people who's probably very focused. She's got enough anger to drive her through.
She would decide that the community on this island is incredibly sexist.
Yeah, but then
It's just you and
she's
her.
also really sexual, and she'd be like, "How old are you again? How come you
think
have those
so?
squares in your stomach, and why do you move like a fucking cat?"
You think so?
And I was like, "Well, what about this?" And she'd be like, "That thing can't be real," and then we'd be off to the races. What?
Oh, man, that's optimistic.
I'm just saying what would happen in my mind.
I have a feeling it would be like a lot of yelling. And then she would realize she has the only vagina in known civilization.
Right.
And she would just run your world.
Well, listen, man, I let her run my world.
And then a boat would pull up to shore and be a bunch of girls that were on a yacht.
Yeah,
and
Russian
they
mobster.
jumped away from this Russian mobster, but then they get lost at sea. And they landed
Yes.
on this island. And then all of a sudden she would change. Then she'd be your girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
Then she'd be holding hands with you while they're talking to you. And
Yep.
everything would change.
There'd just be one guy who knows how to get
Yeah.
the coconuts.
One guy who knows how to fish with a stick.
That's right.
He knows how to get in there with a fucking spear.
Spear.
Yeah, I bring back fish all the time. No big deal.
A
I like
loincloth
it.
made
Love
of-
the exercise. Plenty of food here for all of us.
Yes.
And then the girls are just a little bit cold in their tent. And can we come into your tent?
And then
we don't know how to make a fire yet.
Right, and they'd be like, what are all those baby turtles? I'm like, well, we're going to eat them. No, they're baby turtles. I go, don't worry. If we don't eat them, the fish will anyway. And then we just fucking munch on
And
some.
then Rose just starts blowing you, just like while you're talking to them. Just mine,
This is good.
mine,
Yeah, gets super.
mine.
There's the woman who is a couples therapist who recommends to couples that are having problems. There's a book that's written, and she wrote a book about it. It was essentially the idea that when you feel 100% secure in your relationship, it's a bad thing for a relationship. You should always feel like there's a little danger of your spouse straying because it keeps you sexually competitive.
Sexually competitive is important, huh?
It's fucking very important.
So
the
for
idea.
Rose, those girls are her friend. Those girls who pull up on the island in their raft,
Listen.
they were Rose's friends, really. She feels like they're competitors, but they're really to strengthen the relationship that you and Rose have.
She needs to know I would never cheat on her. And I don't give a fuck
That's
about these Russian
beautiful.
chicks. I
That's
would never cheat
beautiful.
on her. Now, my eye may fall and stay on a body part here and there. But at the end of the day, come here. Hey, look at me. I'll never cheat on you. I would never cheat on you. I would never cheat on you.
And
She's
then
gonna
while
help
you're
me.
saying that, a coconut falls off your head and kills you. And then that's really fucked up because then they're just a bunch of lesbians on an island.
That's so hot.
And then they
I
just
come
they
back as a
morph
ghost.
again. Do you think Rose becomes the man then?
Yes.
And then she runs those Russian bitches around?
Got a fucking shaved head.
Yeah, but she's an actress. They're Russian whores. They've had a
girls,
hard life.
They've had a hard fucking life.
Yeah,
They've
they're
come
ready to
through.
stab somebody. They're ready to
Yes.
steal livers.
They are emotionally, I guess, remote
Maybe.
from my
Or
experience.
maybe just really, vulnerable.
Yeah.
Brian.
Trying to make their rent. I know how to talk to a girl.
You ever
when I
seen
have
that
sex.
picture? There's a funny Instagram picture, like when you see girls partying, but you don't see the guys behind them. Like when girls are like Instagram girls are going off to all these far off exotic lands and they're taking selfies, and you don't see the guys that are paying for that.
That's exactly
you see
right.
Fat, disgusting old dudes on yachts.
Oh, exactly.
Those guys are real.
Of course they're real. I'll be one of those guys in about 10 years.
You
if
think
things
so?
keep going well.
Do you think you'll ever get to that, like, driving around in a yacht with a bunch of prostitutes?
No, because no, and I've always wanted to a little bit, and then I always come back to my set point, which is you got to be a man of substance and all that. Like that, it's why I never dated super like Barbie doll girls. Like I would always find it a little embarrassing. Maybe the same reason I never drove a really fast, fancy car. There's something about that ostentatious kind of like. I don't know what it is. No. Here's a better way of putting it. I want to get away from my appetites, and I want to be moving toward my appetites.
Yeah, but if you're almost dead, okay? If you're 75 years old and you got this big, fat, fucking belly filled with carbs, just giant Buddha-like belly, and you're on, 200 milligrams of Viagra, your ears are ringing.
Jesus Christ.
Your dick is just a hard snake in your pants. You're just drinking martinis, and you have $7 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do besides help the world? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Do a lot of humanitarian things. That's all nice too.
But I don't want to be somebody who chases a sensation.
Are you chasing a sensation, or are you just hitting the gas and headed straight for the rocks?
No, because the hitting the gas and heading straight for the rocks has been done too many times. I've already felt it. I've already done it. I want to move away from it.
There it is.
Hold on, let me see that.
When you see
Look at
girls
those
like this on
fucking
Instagram,
great guys.
Remember who owns the boat?
Look at those guys.
Look at the girls.
Hey, I got news for you. Some women find that attractive in a sick way.
Well, they find the fact that those guys are going to buy them a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Look at those old
It's
wolves.
like Donald Sterling.
Yeah.
When he was had that girl shacked up. He's buying her Ferraris and shit before she recorded him saying racist stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I think chasing something that is, the idea is to get more away from that and try to.
Yeah, no, I get it. But it's also a sensation. I mean, that's all it is a fun sensation.
Yeah. But so is is wanting to be like valued by younger people. So when men go after young women, there's one side of it which is young women are delicious and beautiful, and their skin and all that. But I think there's another psychological thing at play, which is also the idea of I'm 60, I still got it. She still finds me attractive. I still can get it up. I can still please her sexually. I can still hang with a 20-year-old. I can still make her happy. It's a way of telling yourself you're still alive, that you still have vitality and all that shit. And then there's the third thing, which is, look at what I've accomplished. I can afford this shit. This is another toy along with my car and my boat. But it's all self-affirmation. And it's all, at the end of the day, a manifestation of probably some shit you haven't worked out, which is still a feeling of insecurity, still a hole you can't fill.
Or
and I hope I can move away from that.
You're a fat savage with a martini in your hand, a giant hard dick, and you've paid 30 Russian hookers to hang out with you for a month.
Yeah.
Because your doctor found a blemish on your tumor.
Well, that's a different story.
Some shit going down, and it's growing now, and it's starting to cut off the supply to your blood.
Yeah.
You're getting blood clots, and your feet go numb at night.
I wonder what I would do. Let me think about that. So let's just take that. How much time do I have?
Not much. You wake up every morning, you set the alarm clock for 5 a.m. with Creedence Clearwater Revival, Bad Moon Rising. You pop a Viagra, start drinking, your gut's enormous.
It's enormous?
You definitely have cancer. You know you have cancer. There's probably some internal shit going on, but your dick still gets hard, and you still got $7 billion to burn through. Your kids are calling you. You look at the phone, you're like, fuck you. You're not getting any of this.
I started school, dude. Oh, yeah.
Every day, they're grilling steaks.
Mommy.
You got an onboard chef.
I call every girl mommy. Mommy.
Everything is steak. Steak in the morning,
I'm
steak
out of
in the
bed.
afternoon. Who gives a fuck? Martinis and steak.
I farted.
Yeah. Martini, steak, and a fucking mason jar filled with Viagra. Just a giant one. Just down those fuckers all day. You can't hear a thing. Your ears are closed up.
Just a big old gray pubic mound.
Yeah, your head is constantly aching from the Viagra flowing through your veins.
Stop doing the E. Why are my
It's just
why are my ears
giant. Your
ringing?
dick is like a fucking hammer.
I guess I just do some fucking.
You got a giant fat belly with white hair all over it. Just a big fat white, and your dick smells like cheese. Your dick smells like old cheese.
Hey, bro, why? This is not gonna happen to me.
And the girls all have those shoes with the red bottoms. You know those shoes with the.
Those are Christian Louis Vuittons.
Yeah, that's the ones.
Those are the ones
love those.
that's why I get a hard on when I buy
Girls
fucking
love those.
gifts for girls.
So those girls all have that. You make them keep those shoes on, and you fuck their mouths where they're lying on their stomach, so that the shoes are up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see the bottom of their shoes while you're nutting their mouth.
I bought those for you. I bought those for you. I bought those for you. I bought those for you.
And then your heart attacks.
And then when
hits.
I come, I go. You're welcome.
And when you die, they just throw you overboard because these bitches hate you now. So like, he's dead. He's finally fucking dead.
And
then
not
you
even the
get to
fish
go
will
through
leave
the
me.
will. What's in the will? What do I get? Do I get anything? And then nothing. You don't get nothing. And you just drag him by his ankles and chuck him over the side.
Wow.
The sharks come and eat him.
They won't eat me. I'm so full of sin. I'm so
Whoa.
full of sin and just
The
bad
sharks-
food.
Sharks will eat a shoe.
Well, I don't know, not my.
Do you think
my
they'd
belly.
be turned off by your sin? You've
I think so.
really.
I think so. I want to leave behind a shredded corpse. I want people to go. That's a good looking 90-year-old right there.
What if there's so much Viagra in the body, the shark gets a boner, and the shark is just running through the ocean with a raging hard on?
It's good. That's fossil.
Flying through the air. You know how sharks fly through the air?
Yes.
They jump out of the water.
They
This time he's
breach
going to
the
jump out of
water.
water with his dick rock hard.
Why do they breach the water? They know why.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
They want to see what it's like.
They're just
to
fucking
be
up
in
some
the air.
seals. Yeah, they're having a good time. They do it when they're killing things.
Or they
and
want
that's
to
when they
get
do it.
parasites off their skin, I heard. That's why whales do it, maybe.
Interesting. That makes sense for whales. God, what a bitch that must be. They're just all those lampreys and stuff just stuck to you.
Do you know how long the bowhead whale lives?
No.
About 250 years. Do you know how long the Greenland shark lives, according to carbon dating on their eyelids?
No.
It's a huge shark, too. Try about almost 500 years.
Holy shit.
Bring that up for a second. Bring up the Greenland
You
shark.
know, they think the Greenland shark might have been what people were seeing in the Loch Ness.
That
Because
makes
the
sense.
Loch Ness at one point in history was connected to the ocean, and they think that might have been the animal that was in there.
That's interesting because it would live 500 years. Although they live in very cold water.
Whoa, look at the size of that fucking thing.
Yeah, now that'll live 500 years apparently.
400-year-old Greenland shark is the oldest vertebrate animal alive.
Yeah.
Whoa, what a freaky fucking animal.
Look, that looks 400 years old. Looks like
It
a piece of
does.
stone. Looks like a stone.
Just think about that. Just think about that. Before the fucking United States was founded in 1776, this cunt was 100 years old.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that fucking crazy?
That's insane.
God damn.
That's insane.
That's
What a
nuts.
freaky looking animal, too.
Yes,
But they keep finding weirder and weirder animals, too, at the bottom of the sea.
they do, right?
Oh, it's so amazing.
Weren't you talking about a tribe in the Amazon they just
Yeah,
found?
uncontacted tribe.
A Yanomamo? Where were they from?
Well,
That's
Jamie,
the only
see,
tribe
pull
I
it up
know,
here.
so I say Yanomamo.
That's isn't that the tribe that Ranello went hunting with in Bolivia?
I know that
Yanomami.
they're the tribe that when they came back, the anthropologists in the 70s, and found that the ones that killed the most men in battle were the ones that sired the most children. And when they came back in the 70s and told the academic world that aggression was inherent and that it was rewarded by females. Ooh, you should have seen the politically correct. You should have seen what happened in the 70s. And that is rearing its head again today, the idea that aggression. Wow.
That's a crazy statement, man. So they rejected it in primitive people. They
not only
rejected
that,
notion?
not only that, they attacked. There's a Stephen Pinker's book, The Blank Slate. They attacked the scientists, the anthropologists that came back. They attacked them personally over it. Tried to ruin their reputations.
Look at how this guy's dressed.
Dude, are you kidding me right
I mean,
now?
this
That's
is-
2017.
Yeah. It's really amazing. Look, isn't that crazy? Indians. Why the fuck do they keep calling them Indians?
I think it's the Aborigines. Like that it comes from that.
And Brazil's, well, it's indigenous.
Right.
Could you say indigenous? Could you say Indian because of indigenous?
I don't know, but that is so fascinating. Look at
Jamie,
that.
stop scrolling, please. Go back up to where I was reading what it was saying there. The tribe has moved a number of times since that sighting. Scout expert in the region's indigenous groups Morales was on last Sunday's flight, as well as previous missions in 2008 and 2010 that also yielded extraordinary images. These groups change location every 4 years or so. They move around, but it's the same group.
How vast is the Amazon?
Amazon's amazing, but those fucking people that are chopping down the trees are closing in on it.
They sure are.
It's
Look at
awful.
that guy. Look at that guy.
Yeah, look at this crazy little hut. Look at that. They got that aerial view of the hut where those people live. A thatch hut.
Fuck.
To keep the jaguars out. And look at him, man.
in the
What
world?
is he got? Tattoos all over him, Jamie? Go larger on that image of him. Intricate body paint. Wow.
So they're getting
Look at
pictures from the air.
He's got some sort of really primitive knife.
That's pictures from the air, dude.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're flying over these people.
Holy shit.
Photographer was looking for another area he was going back for and stumbled across. He saw that hut and then was like, oh, what's that hut? And got in closer and then saw the people and started taking photos of them.
These
Dude.
people are living like people lived thousands of years ago.
That's
It's amazing.
fascinating.
It's amazing. So that looks like a modern knife to me now that I'm looking at it deeper, because if you look below where he's holding onto it, there's a wooden handle lower
Machete.
than that. Yeah, that looks like a machete. So how are they uncontacted if they have a machete?
Machete?
They got that from someone.
Dude, look at this.
That's the only thing that you see on them that's modern, though. I mean, he's probably holding it up. Look how modern I am, motherfucker. I got a machete.
They look fed and healthy. Plots of corn, manioc, and bananas surround the cluster of communal huts. Vegans, probably. None of
Wow.
this.
No, they eat a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm sure,
fish
I'm sure.
and frogs and monkeys. They eat everything.
Look at that, though, dude. Look at that. They live in the woods.
Look at this. Equally impressive for Morales was the large barrage of arrows the tribesmen fired at the helicopter, which he took as a healthy sign of resistance. Wow, their messages, he said, those arrows mean, leave us in peace, do not disturb. No, they mean, I'm trying to shoot you, bitch. I'll let you know that. Leave us in peace. That's not, well, boy, you're reading into it. They're saying, get out of here, you flying demon.
Hold on. Let me see. It's up here to save. Tunnels across the border of Peru are rife with illegal logging crews, gold prospectors, and drug traffickers. Yeah, man. They've
Yeah,
wiped
these
out
people are-
entire tribes in the past.
I'm sure. I mean, how many of these people are there? Go back up to those images, Jamie. Look at the images of the hut, please. Oh, yeah, right there.
Dude, I want to
Like,
study
how
them.
many people are that? I mean, if you assume that doorway is human-sized, how many people live in that? 20, 30?
It's fascinating. You can learn so much about human nature by studying them.
Well, there's no way to really study them, though. That's what's really interesting. Like, the real way to study them
Live
would
with
be
them.
have a drone that they didn't know was a drone, and fly it in there and like perch it on a tree and watch and get as much data as you can.
Or just live with them.
Yeah, but if you live with them, you'll be affecting them, because then
that's
people they
interesting,
would
yeah.
know that you're there. Like, the only way to really study them would be to study them without them knowing. You know, like, look where they are,
How
man.
can you stop
Go back
illegal
there. Go
logging
back.
and all that
Go,
shit?
don't change pictures. Go back to that picture. Look at that. Look at their little hut, and then look at where they are, man.
Fuck.
Look at that
A sea of green.
massive amount of rainforest, and they just got this little clearing with this little hut.
Man, that's insane. that's
If you had to
fucking-
live there, though, like, you could do it. But everything that we have in our brain about what is good in life is attached to civilization. A nice house in a good neighborhood. I want to have cable TV and fast internet and a microwave.
Food.
Food
Food that I can get immediately.
But even if you can get food there, if like they knew, like they said, they planted bananas, they planted all this corn, they knew where the food was. There's plenty. I'm sure there's a ton of living shit out there that you can eat, right? So even if you can hunt and gather all the food you need every single day of the week, would you be happy with never performing stand-up again? Would you be happy never watching Netflix again? Would you be happy with no cell phone? Would you be happy with no air flights?
Me and my
This is where
native
you
girl.
live forever.
Me and my Indian girlfriend.
Yeah, who, by the way, smells like an African prison riot. How often
Sir,
does that chick
it
wipe her
rains
ass?
a lot. It rains a lot, and the rains cleanse the body.
The
You
fuck it
fucking
does.
you
She probably smells like a
ethnocentric
tarsal
motherfucker.
gland. She probably smells like a
A
skunk.
tarsal gland.
Everyone probably smells like a skunk.
No, she
Oof. It's
she
probably
burns.
why there's so few of them.
She smokes incense. She
Those
burns incense.
Tribes were so small because they smelled so bad they rarely fucked. And then once people figured out soap, the population just exploded. Like, you smell good enough to fuck. And then
Hey, sanitation played a huge part in progress.
I'm serious.
You smelled good enough
For
to
real.
fuck.
Yeah,
Look
I mean,
at that,
you
dude.
have to be super horny to fuck one of these people.
They took pictures from the air.
Yeah. Yeah, they had to.
Dude, that's mind blowing.
I know, and they probably had
Look
to
at
use
that haircut.
And this is a guy working his bow, but
He
this
sure
is,
is.
I mean, he had to have something to shave his head, right?
Well,
So, 'cause
he's wearing body paint, obviously to protect from insects, probably.
Yeah, maybe, right? But the
That's a macaw right there.
but the hair, it appears like he's got a razor. If he can do that to his hair,
Dude, look at them.
or some sort of a knife, you know, they shaved.
I cannot believe this. I'm fascinated by this.
Oh, it's incredible.
They are
man.
in the Stone Age. Look at that shit.
They
That's
literally
human
are.
beings in the raw. That's human beings in the raw who
And-
haven't come into contact with other ideas and other cultures and other people, and so they've stayed that way.
Well, that's the argument against keeping dolphins and whales in captivity. That these people, and these are absolutely 100% human beings, right? We would give them the same rights that you and I both enjoy. Those people live like they lived thousands of years ago. They have a very crude existence that's not very far removed from orcas. It's just not. The only thing that's different is shelter. They've developed shelter, which is totally unnecessary for a dolphin or a killer whale. So other than that, you know, with all the things, all the metrics that we use to describe civilization, I mean, they have some tools. So what? You know, tools made out of sticks. I could teach a Boy Scout how to make a bow like that.
No, there
you
are
know?
differences.
Sure
You
there
know,
are.
the
Sure there
human
are.
mind, yeah.
But to us looking at that,
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at an incredibly primitive form of human life in terms of like what we think of as important. Like how much of a difference is that than orcas
Well,
or
humans,
killer
yeah,
whales?
yeah. You mean you're talking about that exact
Yeah.
example? Yeah, that hasn't come into contact, hasn't had the benefit of sort of sharing ideas having sex,
Yeah.
as Hunter says. Yeah, you're right.
Crazy. It's
You're
so
having-
it's so amazing that it exists though. Like I don't know how they could study it, but God, they have to. They have
Well,
to. I mean, there's
yeah.
got to be a way to infiltrate in some sort of a way and understand.
They
what
did a
they're
lot
like
of that
without
in
influencing them.
Papua New Guinea. They did a lot of that.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
again, with a lot of influence though.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some horrible shit that came out of New Guinea. Do you know about the semen warriors?
I sure do.
Oh,
And they did a study on how many of them actually become gay later on. It's only about 5%. It has nothing to do with it. It's really interesting. But the boys to reach puberty have to suck the sperm out of the men in the tribe. They have to suck them off.
or they have to take it in their ass.
Usually it's sucking for about 2 years. 2-3 years until they reach puberty. So that you can ingest a lot of
Suck
semen.
a lot of dicks.
Suck a lot of
And they
dick.
think you have to do that to get bigger.
Yeah, you got to do that to become a man.
Someone should just have the Rock fly in there. Look at me, boys.
Yeah.
Never sucked a dick once.
Yep.
And then the whole thing would stop.
That is how it would stop. That's exactly how it would stop. You'd be like,
Look at
wait a
this.
minute, those fucking guys are really strong. They never sucked any
They
dicks."
must ingest the semen of their
Pop
elders
line.
daily from the age of 7 until they turn 17 to achieve adult male status
It's not
and
true.
to properly mature and grow strong.
I read that it was a little older than 7. Actually, that's not altogether true. So
You sure?
Yeah.
It's on Wikipedia. What the fuck do you know?
I think that they may be, because in the book A Billion Wicked Thoughts, I think they start when they're gonna reach puberty, like 13, when they start to show signs, and then it helps you get into.
Because I had read that same thing, though, that it was younger. I had read that it was 7.
I'm not gonna suck that guy's
This-
cock.
That guy's cock smells like shit.
Yeah, that's not a good cock. Look at him. Great look though.
Look at him.
Great look.
Wow, that is a crazy look from a guy who you have to blow.
I mean, look at how human beings they decorate themselves. Now
It's
you're gonna suck my cock.
One
That's
thing
a
if
nightmare.
you're 7 and you have to suck a grown man's dick. It's
Yeah.
another thing if he's dressed up like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, what is that paint that he's got on his face? Scroll up so I can see
that. belongs
that.
in American Horror Story.
Look at that paint on his face. Like, what kind? He's got this crazy
Brilliant
wide
paint.
nose, bright yellow paint all over his face with red stripes,
Yeah.
and he's nutting in your mouth.
Yeah. That's a hell of a fro.
That's hard to get over. Like that's some. It's gonna stick with you. Those
I think
images
so.
are gonna stick with you.
Average lifespan in Papua New Guinea for a lot of those tribes is 45, by the way.
Yeah, because they're sucking dicks all the time. That
And
can't be good for
They're
you.
eating roots and shitty food, and they're getting infections.
Oh yeah.
You're not. Oh, the big myth about, when you're in the jungle there, you can assimilate and you live it. No.
Not
No.
really.
Shit happens like you get a cut, it gets infected,
Get
you
septic
die.
immediately.
And homicide is huge. Homicide's, I think, the leading cause of death among hunter-gatherer tribes in Papua New Guinea because they just get in these fights with each other.
And
they
because you
kill
want to
each
get
other.
back at that dude that made you suck his dick when you were 7.
No, he's in your tribe, sir. That's just part of it because you're getting your dick sucked now. You have to understand.
Oh, you're part of the problem now.
It's just passed down generation to generation.
Like child molestation.
Correct.
That's what's really crazy. It's almost like child molestation built into the operating system of their culture.
Yeah, some pedophile said, you know what, guys, I saw a vision.
You think that's what it was?
think
Like
so.
one person? But here's the thing. Here's the real question. Like throughout history, I mean, like literally from the beginning of time, people have been molesting young boys. Like grown men would take young boys places and
It's
molest
in the
them.
dialogues. It's in the Socrates. It's in the dialogues. It's
Yeah.
in the symposium.
Yeah, how nuts is that? Like
Yeah.
whenever you consider Socrates, one of the things you have to consider is Socrates was a pedophile. Like that was
He apparently was married and didn't partake, but certainly Aristotle and Plato and his his students.
Socrates didn't bang kids?
His contemporaries would talk about how we have nice boys. Let's go back and drink some wine. We'll go eat and kiss some beautiful boys, and then we'll talk some more. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just drink.
But
Imagine
Socrates,
going
there's
back
no
in
record of
time.
him. He was always, he famously said, as philosophers should treat their appetites, their body, with a quiet contempt. Learn to let go of your body as you get older, not hold on to it, because you're going to have to let go of it
So
anyway.
he's the opposite of the dude in the yacht with the ringing ears and the big fat
He
white hairy
certainly-
belly.
Well, and so much so that when he got poisoned by the hemlock and his students were crying, he said, "You guys, what are you crying for? You're crying over my shell? I'm going on to something bigger, and you're crying about this broken down machinery that's going to break down anyway. Have I taught you nothing?"
Why did he get poisoned again?
Because he would not stop talking. He was considered to be a heretic in a way. He was speaking against Athens, against the elite, against the gods, and he was a man of reason. Not so much faith, but rather reason. And so he was somebody who was considered to be a threat to the power structure, a threat to the religion, a threat to, and so Socrates was considered essentially an enemy of the state, and he had an opportunity. They didn't want to kill him. The Greek government said, listen, hey, we're condemning you to death, i.e., we're looking the other way, get the fuck out of town, just be in exile. And Socrates said, no, sorry, because that would be admitting fault. If you guys want to sin against philosophy, kill me. But I'm not going to renounce what I said, and I'm not going to say sorry, and I'm not going to leave because I've lived under these rules and these laws forever. And if that's the law of the land, then I will take my punishment. But you guys are wrong, but just know this is on you, not on me. It's very powerful. There's the apology, and there's everybody should read it. It's fascinating.
Totally different story if you talked in that creepy voice. That creepy whisper
everybody
voice.
should read it, and if you want to come to my place, I'll read it to
like
you.
how he said it.
He said,
not. He said
guys,
admitting fault.
I've been living under Greek law for a long time.
Have you ever contemplated like what it would be like? I mean, I assume that this is going to be available in some sort of a simulated form in virtual reality, like within our lives, to be able to go and experience what it would be like to be inside of a building and watching people live as if people lived like in that rainforest, or watching people live as people lived in ancient Greece or ancient Rome, or just trying to experience what it would be like. Like in our minds, this is normal life, right? This is normal life, being in a building, electricity, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it would be so fucking enlightening if we could just, for a brief moment even if just for a few minutes, try to experience what life was like back then, and then try to put it into context.
Well, I think the big factor would be that there was so much we didn't know. For example,
Right.
germ theory.
But forget about medical stuff. Just like when I'm talking about like the way people look at the world. Like if you listen to Lenny Bruce today, it's hard to listen to Lenny Bruce today because you already know a lot of the things he's saying, and it's not really so groundbreaking anymore. But if you listen to it in 1959 nightclub, you'd be like, holy shit, this is blowing my mind. Like, imagine being in front of Socrates. Imagine them being around all these people that had so little access to knowledge, knew so little about how the world actually worked.
Or did they? I don't know. So
Well, sure they did in comparison to what we know today, 100%.
Yeah, but okay.
But I'm just saying in the context of the civilization that existed at the time, what kind of a weird world would that be?
Well, I think the fundamental difference would be you'd have a much closer and intimate relationship with life and death, right?
Right.
Because
see it
death
all
was
the time.
always all the time, and you were going to die probably of any, but
And
just
it wasn't
kids died.
formaldehyde and
Nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you died of diseases that would roll through, and a plague would come, and then there would be a war, and all this stuff would happen. So I think you'd have a more intimate relationship with death. But I think actually that when you say we do have access to more information, we know more. Okay, as in we know more about the methodology of like sort of how certain things work. We know that there's a shark that lives 500 years, and we know. I don't know if thinking people back then knew less in terms of what it was to be essentially human and the responsibility of a human being. So in other words, if you really get down to brass tacks, at the end of the day, you're left with yourself. You're left with the things you can conquer within yourself. You're left with the things you can put into context about yourself. You're left with how much self-knowledge at the end of the day. When you die, how well did you get to know yourself? One of the big values of putting yourself in risky situations or putting yourself into situations where you have to learn something that takes a lot out of you is you learn about yourself. And I think the Greeks knew that and wrote about that as well as anybody ever. And I think that they understood, like you read Seneca, you read Socrates, and though they didn't have the technological advantages we did, they didn't have the ability to get as close to the rest of the world as we did, they had deep, deep concepts and wrestled with the big ideas and questions that have never left us, that still haunt us. The idea of what is the difference between good and evil? How should I really live my life? What is the right thing to do when everybody is telling me to do this and it's way more convenient? But what's the answer? Am I really just my appetites, or am I more than that? And if my dignity and my morality and ethics are compromised, would I have the courage to stand there and say, I'm going to stay in Greece and not leave? Those big human questions are as relevant today as they were then. And if you really get down to what it means to be a human being, and if you get down to knowledge, maybe we don't know more than they do.
Well, first of all, there's a huge problem with the word we. Okay, because like, who are you talking about? You talking about you? You talking about me? Or are you talking about the greater human knowledge? Well, for sure, the greater human knowledge is far vast.
Yeah.
Far more vast. Far more in depth. We know more about science. We know more about cells and the universe and the ocean and everything there is to be observed. As far as applied knowledge,
right.
Like, are we living in a wise way? Well, we don't really know. I mean, we don't know in comparison to how they lived then, because we have tales that were written down and passed generation after generation. Our honest understanding of the day-to-day existence in terms of like what it would be like to actually be there, it's very limited. It's also very speculative. There's a lot of like putting the pieces together, and like that's one of the things that history professors will do when they're teaching a class. They'll paint a picture of what they believe it was like back then, based on the facts that they can definitely cling to. But as far as experiencing it, what was it actually like?
Yeah, well, I had a really great. There's a great professor who teaches this class on the turning points in European history, which you can get at the teaching company. And he said something really awesome. He starts the lecture with this. He said, I want you guys, it was the fall of Constantinople, a city that had stood for 1,000 years, and walls that had stood for 1,000 years. And when the Turks came in with this 100-foot gun and started blasting the walls,
Jesus Christ.
and then they sacked the city, raped and killed most of the men, and then sold about 150,000 into slavery, which means they chained them up and marched them back to one of their colonies and sold them on an open market. And he said, remember, this is a city that stood for 100 years. It was when Constantinople then became Istanbul, became the center of the Ottoman Empire. He said, I want you to think for a second about what it sounded like to be inside that city or on that wall when it was coming down, when you knew that walls that had stood for 1,000 years were finally giving way to this new technology, which was a giant cannon, that it took them a mile a day to drag, and they did it for 100 miles or something crazy. Said, I want you to think these Ottomans are outside. These dudes are going to take no mercy, and they're going to do what they want when. And I want you to what did it smell like? What did it sound like? And what was really going on as you were waiting in your house, and they came through the walls. Dude. And for the first time in 1,000 years, your city and everything you knew was going to be burned, raped, killed, sold into slavery, and changed. Think about that shit for a second. And that was a reality for people. And that's a fascinating way to teach history because it brings it down to a visceral level where you go, these motherfuckers lived through that. So I think that the existential possibility that you and everybody you know, like Amos Oz, the Israeli writer, his mother killed herself. And he said, my mother killed herself because in Ukraine, when she was from Kiev, I think, in one day, 25,000 Jews were killed by the Nazis in one day. He said, in her town, everybody she knew and everybody that knew those people and everything she came from for generations, 7 generations, wiped away, all killed. And now she's in sun-baked Jerusalem or Haifa or wherever it is. Think about what that was like for a human being, where everything you knew, being like the same thing like being a Native American, everything you knew, all the buffaloes killed, their bodies, the hides laced with strychnine, all the animals that are eating that are dying. So all your entire mythology, Joseph Campbell talks about that, all your whole mythology has been wiped away. The buffalo, that is the centerpiece of your mythology, your God, and all the eagles and everything else. And your God, obviously, is not strong enough to stop this incredibly strong Western God. What does that say about not only your very existence, but the gods you've been sacrificing and
You're
praying
covering
to?
a lot of territory here, Bryan Callen. You just went through 3 entire different
That's what
cultures.
it's fucking like, man.
All
You asked me
death
what
and
it's like to be
doom
an
and destruction.
ancient. What it's like to be an ancient person.
Yeah, it's not good.
The fact that you could lose everything.
But I was gonna get to something, but my point was, imagine that there's going to be a civilization one day that looks back on the primitive nature of us today with the same sort of like bizarre reflection that we look back at Socrates, or we look back on the people that were on the Mayflower. It's just hard to imagine, as we're all trying to expand our consciousness and grow as a civilization, and we would hope that with every new president we have like a better way of doing things, and our government tightens up and our laws get better. That's one of the things that people are so terrified about with this new administration, that if everyone feels like it's slipping backwards. But one day, the give and take, the flow, the ebb and flow of information, 500 years from now, when they look back the way we look at, the attack of the Mongols on Jin, China,
or on Baghdad,
yeah, and any of these places, you look back at the destruction that took place just a few hundred years ago, and the kind of civilization that existed back then. And what would it be like to be in the felt tents of the Mongols as they were camped outside of the gates of this city that they were going to hurl flaming bodies with catapults at?
Yeah.
They would set their roofs on fire with flaming human beings.
The fat would burn, right?
Yeah, the fat burns really good. So they would light people on fire, douse them in kerosene, light them on fire, and then launch them through the fucking air, and they would land on buildings and light them on fire from the outside.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's jump ahead to 100 years or whatever.
Yeah, what's it
and
gonna be like?
You can live 100 years longer than you are now. So right
You're
now,
gonna be fucking that robot that looks creepy.
100% I am. 100% I am.
I'm
There's
gonna
all
be
that.
the fat guy with the white belly on the yacht.
No, you won't.
With my ears ringing.
You won't have to be, because they'll have drugs and you'll be able to stay shredded. Right now, you'll be a teenager, the equivalent of a teenager. What would you do with another 100 years?
Try to get better at life.
What do you mean?
Try to get better at my management of life. The entire experience, like how much of it is positive, not just positive for me, but positive for other people that I interact with. How much of it, how much better have I gotten at stand-up, at podcasting, at creating things, at writing things, at expressing myself. All those things, all the things that I'm doing now. If I had to live 5 more years, what would I do in 5 more years? Try to get better at what I'm doing.
Right.
If I had 95 more years other than that, well, I'll definitely get better. If my body works, I'd like to keep doing jiu-jitsu. I'd like to keep doing martial arts. I like to keep working out. I like yoga. It's fun. It feels good.
You do a lot of yoga lately.
Do it a lot. Yeah, I'm doing it 3 times a week now.
God.
Yeah, man. It's I think more things you do, the better you get at doing things. And I think the better you get at doing things, the more of an understanding you have of yourself. And if you're being totally honest, the more of an understanding you have of yourself, the better you are at managing life. So I just try to get better at managing life.
Like, and so defining life, managing life as in knowing where to place your energy?
Knowing where to place your energy, for sure. Knowing what something actually means versus how it makes you feel. Knowing why things make you feel a certain way, and why they could feel totally different in a different day, in a different circumstance. Like how are you going into things neutral, or are you going into things loaded up already with emotions and with negativity, and then you immediately react from this loaded up position instead of from a neutral position where you can analyze it and decide that nothing truly has any meaning other than the meaning that you give it.
That's the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman.
Oh.
Yeah, about he won a Nobel Prize in economics.
Really?
Yeah, and he talks about that he did all those experiments, right? So just about getting to know how your body, how your fast-thinking brain reacts, and learning that sort of getting a handle on your mechanisms and how even the way you hold your body. So if you're smiling, you're going to think something's actually funnier than if you're frowning. They had people hold a pencil in their teeth sideways like that, and when they saw a joke, they thought it was funnier than if they were holding a pencil like this with the point out and they were in a frown. They thought it wasn't as funny. Right. So, or when they were told to take a test and come up with sentences out of the words gray and wrinkled and sunshine and bald, they moved to the next test slower because those words made them think of old people. And so, the language you use, how you hold your body, all those things affect how you are going to interact with data and stimulus that you're presented with. So, the state that you are in is going to influence how you react to something.
I think we all are aware of that, though, right? You're aware of that.
Yeah,
you know, like sometimes you're
not about myself.
You're ramped up.
Yeah.
If you're ramped up, you don't want to be exposed to bad news because then you'd be like, what the fuck? You know, just compound. And we all know people who are always ramped up and they're always having bad things happen to them. And it could be connected.
Yeah. Do you ever find that you get really, I have to guard myself against negative shit because it'll distract me from my work.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to, you could fill your head up every day with horror stories
that are not helpful.
Not helpful and also unmanageable. Like, again, we're talking about the 7 billion people in the world that you're getting news from. You're getting all the events that happen to 7 billion people. And only the extraordinary ones, the fucked up ones, are the ones that are interesting. The guy who takes that truck and runs it through the crowd. Those are the ones that are interesting. Forget about all the people handing out flowers and inviting people in their homes for tea. All those things that are taking place at the same time don't attract our attention.
That's interesting.
So it does become a real problem. If you want to look at the experiences of 7 billion people, you can find a lot of horrific shit.
Yeah.
But if you want to look at the experience of one person, you, Bryan Callen, your interactions are almost entirely positive.
Yeah.
Your day is almost entirely filled with laughter and friendship and fun and joking around and getting on stage and performing and doing podcasts and being with your family and having a wonderful time.
Yeah.
So you can have a distorted view of the world by being too aware of the whole world.
Yeah.
And then people will tell you, well, hey, man, you can't live your life in a fucking bubble, man. No, that's called life.
Yeah.
Everybody lives in a bubble, you cunt. Like, that's
You
why
have to live
Meryl
in a
Streep
bubble.
can go on TV and say that mixed martial arts isn't art. Like, why is she saying that? Because that's her bubble.
Yes.
In her bubble, that makes sense. She could say that. If she said that, if we were all backstage at the UFC and she said that, people would be like, who the fuck? What?
Right.
What the fuck did she just say?
Right.
That is so ridiculous. Why would you say that?
Right.
Why would you come here where people love and worship this and say that? Why would you come here when people find the importance in this sport, in this art form? And why would you downplay it that way?
Sure.
Well, you did because she's in her bubble. Everybody's in a fucking bubble.
Of course.
There's no way you could
to be
not
good
be.
at anything, you have to create a bubble, I would argue.
Yeah.
Because if I want to write stand-up and I'm walking down and I start thinking about the drug cartels in Mexico and how they kill innocent people or whatever it might be, I'm going to get ramped up and I'm going to go, what would I do in that situation? I'm going to get full of fear. And I'm not going to be thinking about what I got to be thinking about, which is, whatever it might be. Or maybe I can use that in my stuff. But I find I have to really guard against unhelpful thinking.
You should.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I refuse to go down all these goddamn conspiracy holes that everybody wants you to go down and read this and read that. Like, I don't want to. I don't want, man, you should know. You should know about it. No, I shouldn't. No, I shouldn't. I can't know about everything.
Right.
I fucking can't. There's not enough time in the day. And I don't know who killed Kennedy, but it was a long time ago and I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I don't want to look into it anymore.
Right.
Maybe one day I'll change my mind.
Yeah.
But you can't say that someone has to go down these roads, or you have to pay attention to this, or you have to pay
It's
attention
just
to
too much
that.
work to be
There's
done.
too much.
Yeah.
If you want to find out all the threats that ISIS poses to civilization, Jesus fucking Christ. How much time do you have? Do you want to find out how dangerous Putin really is? Boy, how much fucking time do you have?
Right.
How much time do you have? Do you want to find out all the different potential gender roles that people play and gender identities that people cling to and all the different types of sexuality that exists and perversion and how many people jerk off on feet and
It's
don't have any time.
It's high-tech procrastination. If you do
is in a
think
lot
that
of
way,
ways.
it keeps you away from yourself. But The Putin thing's a little scary.
It's all scary.
Do we have more about that?
I'm scared.
Do we know more about whether he has any blackmail shit? I don't doubt that.
No. That whole story about him
Is that fake?
hiring. Yes, it's fake
Fuck,
news.
there you go.
And it came out of a fucking post on, what was it on? It was on 4chan?
And I fell for it. I just
Dude,
fell
everybody
for it.
did, but this is the thing. This is the world we live in. You know, this
Fake
fake
news.
news is a real problem.
Yes, it is.
And it's even bigger problem because what we consider to be legitimate news sources talk about it as a rumor. Like,
Right.
this is the rumor.
Well,
and so they don't even unsubstantiated reports.
Yes.
You can't say that. You can't even say that.
I know, because the Wall Street Journal said this has not been substantiated.
But they printed
by us,
it.
But they printed
it.
Yeah.
Those fucks.
And now I'm like, wait a minute.
They are dying. The entire system of mainstream media is slowly eroding to the internet.
But we need reliable sources of info.
We do. But we need someone who's going to reliably do it on the internet. And I don't think that's impossible. I think if we find someone who's truly, absolutely 100% ethical,
They're out there.
and objective, and also someone who's not just going to go after fantastic stories because they make big ratings,
Right.
but someone who goes after stories that are actually important because they're significant events and issues, and does it in an objective way. Everything's editorialized. All these things that people cling
So it was
to
fake
are
fucking
editorialized.
news. This was fake.
It's fake.
The golden showers and all that
I thought
shit.
it sounded like bullshit. It sounded too
Yeah.
obvious. Oh, he likes to hire hookers to pee on the bed that Obama slept on.
Yeah, no,
Get out of here, man. That seems so corny.
Yeah.
But if he did do it, I wouldn't be
Well,
shocked.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was in Russia and, you know, he had some gorgeous women with him, and then they have video of it. That I wouldn't be surprised.
And by the
of,
way, I don't care.
but me neither.
I don't care. I don't
Give a
care if
fuck.
he hired someone to pee on the bed.
I don't give a
care if he thinks it's funny to hire someone to pee on the bed.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes him a bad person. I think he's a rich guy who does fucked up shit sometimes because he's a rich guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even
He
think
doesn't
of
smoke or drink, so
it. Yeah.
maybe
So that's how he
maybe-
gets his rocks off.
Yeah. You know what?
Maybe.
Covered
Gotta
a lot
get
of
out
ground. Covered a lot of fucking ground.
Let's wrap this up. So, Mixed Mental Arts. I like the new name. I
Not
like
bad,
it.
right?
It's great.
Started
Hunter
episode 207.
Hunter Motz is fantastic too.
He's
thanks
great.
for turning me on to him and
Yeah,
getting
he's
me
a
on
gift.
the podcast. He was wonderful. And Fighter and the Kid, tfatk.com.
Come see us
Go
in
there. You guys are doing live shows.
January
You're doing
18th,
a lot of live
19th.
shows.
I'll be in Austin at Cap Cities February 1, 2, 3, 4. I love it.
Oh shit!
Get
That's
your
one of the
tickets.
best clubs in the world.
Cap Cities.
God damn it, Austin,
February
Texas.
1 through 4. I can't
All right,
wait.
beautiful. All right,
I'll
everybody.
be doing Aubrey's podcast there too.
Fuck yeah, you will. All right, we're done for today. See ya, kids.
Always a good fucking time.